What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. Oh, it's a big, glorious Tuesday night here on Dynasty Points. We are off and running tonight. Fun show tonight, a little bit different. We're sitting here at this time of the year wondering how can we put on a compelling, interesting, theory-driven program. Well, there's no better way to do that, in our opinion, than to make fun of ourselves. So tonight we are pulling back the curtains. We are going into roster review. We have each submitted a somewhat tweener roster for us to go through, look at some trades, what we should do, an honest look at where we stand with these rosters. We're opening up for you. Happy that the chat is here. Happy that my compadres are here. Jakob Sanderson, Ryan Heath, the cheater, Lucas Gilbert.
Somebody's bitter.
I have one question to kick this off before we get into what was on the show sheet. And I like to do this sometimes. But Jakob, I've already gotten 2 comments on one of the trades used on the thumbnail.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And the people want to know why you have a vigorous hatred for young Zay Flowers.
Oh, yeah.
As you seemingly gave him up for free for a 27-1. So please explain the trade, because again, we've gotten 2 comments on it just from the thumbnail.
Yeah, that's funny. People might assume that it's a league that I'm like selling off players. That's not really true. We've talked about this on a lot of shows, especially when Tom likes to go into his I want players to score points on my teams, picks don't score points mode. I believe that picks do score points. No, it's not actually true. I try to run a lean operation. I basically want as much of my value as possible in the offseason to be in my starting lineup. And then I want as much of the remaining value to be in draft picks. Because generally speaking, anything that is not a rookie or draft pick is unlikely to retain value. So if it's not producing material points for me in my lineup, I want that value stored elsewhere. In this particular case, my starting lineup in that league is Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey, Drake London, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Tucker Kraft, Bucky Irving, Devontae Adams. I have other dudes on the bench. So Flowers would have been like my first wide receiver off the bench, but I also still have those 5 guys ahead of him. And I also have Jaden Reed, and I have Khalil Shakir off the bench as well, who can step up and play if needed to fill bye weeks and flexes. So for me, I'm just taking a shot on the 27 class, which I think is going to be very interesting, and I'm trying to add as many 27-1s as I can. So basically anywhere that I can spare some stuff off of my bench or slight downgrades to my starting lineup and go add a 27-1, that's certainly the plan. I wasn't trying to make a big statement. Tom just asked for 2 trades, one that I had rejected and one that I'd accepted. That was just the most recent trade I'd accepted. I wasn't trying to make a big statement. I was just being lazy.
Yeah. See, D-Walk, I've banned people from chats for less. So be weary on that statement there, sir. No, I just figure I'd ask, because again, the people, they saw it, they immediately freaked out and said that is an awful deal. This is atrocious. Why is there a check mark on it? And so I thought, you know what? We're gonna kick this off and ask the man himself. We have a fun show today. We are doing the anatomy of a trade. And this is important to me because we get asked a lot about trade structure. How do you like to set it up? I don't send I'm bored just looking to trade type deals. I think that's hashtag very bad. Dealing just to deal. There are certain trade structures that I don't like, so I'm going to ask the panel as well before we get into just figuring out what needs to go on our rosters. Of course, we talked about a roster review. I do have an update on people having their rosters reviewed. That is something that was talked about a couple of podcasts ago. I am in talks with one of our writers that does Dynasty, Swales. He is helping me come up with kind of a system to do that. So shout out to him. We obviously are going to do Dynasty Q&A. If you have a question, I will pin it. Keep the questions coming in. We'll pin it. We'll make sure to answer it right here live once we finish the roster reviews. And of course, 5 for 5, where I look to regain my momentum that was robbed from me by a cheating, shameless, despicable.
This is very Trumpian of you to just, if you don't win one time in 5 for 5, all of a sudden we're stopping the steal.
No, you know what it is? Lucas tipped himself off. It was the and I was gone.
What is this conspiracy theory?
You got a lead, and I have to fight back. And then there's the whole charade about being the crowd of the people.
Don't you think if Lucas was willing to cheat at 5 for 5, he'd be better than he is?
No, see, this is how
he's 3 times a year. He's executing his plan so badly.
He's laying in the weeds.
Mastermind cheater. No offense.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I would. A lot better. I would be winning a lot more if I were cheating. I wouldn't be doing this whole letting you get this huge lead thing. It would have been as soon as I got back, I'm putting you in your place.
Well, showman,
I've been winning some since I got back. We're really getting the momentum going on this end right now. Right. And all these lies that my opponent is now spewing, just trying to set this thing up. That's an awful lot of talk from somebody who lost last week. That's all I'm going to say. Wait until you win at the end and then bring this stuff to me.
Okay. Yeah, you sound like you've actually won something. So you haven't won player picks and you haven't won 5 for 5 yet. The whole lot.
When's the last time you won player picks, Tom?
We don't talk about that here on the show.
no one else except for this top right corner here is one player pick.
The crazy thing is Thomas finished third. Now I don't even know how many years in a row with me following behind Jakob, and he's over here bringing up me winning at players picks whenever he's really, really far down.
All right. Shouldn't you be like the war guy? Should be able to win every week at player picks, and you're equally as ass as I am. Like, come on, we gotta.
I think Ryan should be winning player picks. I mean, he's the one who does all of the VR and daily analysis. This really should be his domain.
He falls victim to showing up last, or I guess second last. Jacob's always entering it 5 minutes before we do the segment every week.
That's the key to my success. Yeah, is the limited prep time.
Pure gut. That's what he runs off of.
Ryan, you're muted there, boss man. Yep, gave the old head nod there. Look, of course, on top of that, we can't forget that you guys have just been absolutely crushing it with merch orders. Of course, my favorite podcast is Forklift Certified T-shirt has been selling incredibly well. We love that, obviously. Lucas is rocking it right now. Just a phenomenal piece of merchandise. Please get yours. Reasonably priced. The more these sell, right, the more opportunities we're going to have to create some pretty cool shirts, like the Ryan Heath Crash Out T-shirt and the Fat Ass Running Backs Only T-shirt that we want to get going. Ryan had to do a quick little reset there, but he's going to be back. Have no fear. All right. I say we take just a quick look. I know this podcast is going to be long. So I think, gentlemen, it is within our best interest to take a quick break now so I don't get in trouble for waiting for a half hour for the first one. So if you guys can survive the quick break, when you come back, we're going to get into one of my favorite topics, which would be the anatomy of a trade. Can't wait. Sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, let's talk about the anatomy of a trade. The anatomy of a trade is important. Of course, there is certain things that you need to have happen to get a trade done. You have to be reasonable. You have to be able to look at another person's roster and actually see what they need. If they've got 8 running backs, maybe don't try to send them a running back for their first pick. All right. And there's also a trading when you're bored pandemic that I see across social media at all times. Oh, I'm bored, just looking to get deals done. Catastrophic. Unless you're not only just bored, but still have a plan. So I will ask the table. I will ask the panel. What is your least favorite type of trade structure that you try to avoid at all costs? For me, it is a 1-for-1 at the same position. I try to avoid this at all costs. We've talked about it before. Jakob has called me Mr. Not Fun because I don't like to make just like player takes bets on deals. I like to get the appropriate value for a deal. I don't like to go position for position, like quarterback for quarterback, receiver, etc. I don't think that helps you that much. Unless it's like a clear, like way out there. So Jakob, I ask on to you first. What is your least favorite type of structure when you're looking at getting a deal done?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, first off, as I'm wont to do, I always have to throw out a caveat, and the caveat in this case being that if the value is right, I'll pretty much entertain any structure of deal. But I would say that probably the one I'm least likely to do is like a 1-for-2 or a 1-for-3 when I'm getting more players and the return is all players. Like if I'm doing that type of deal, I usually want to do my stud. If I, for whatever reason, I'm deciding to sell a stud, which I'm usually not, I'm usually the consolidator. But if I am, I probably want max 1 player back and then either a really good pick or a bunch of picks, depending on what I'm looking for. But breaking that 1 player down into multiple players, usually not something I'm trying to do. Usually that's just going to be flattening out my roster overall and not really getting the upside that I want to get when I sell a stud, which is maybe one day I get a pick that replaces that stud and I get all these extra assets in the meantime.
I think that's fair. I think that's a good one to pinpoint.
I would have picked yours, but I knew you were going to say that, so I went to my second option.
Okay, and so you let me set myself up, calling myself not fun, and just had to make sure I ate that one, and then you were just going to go right there and tail it. Yeah, that's a good podcast co-host right there. Ryan?
Yeah, so you guys can hear me, right?
Yes,
sure. We're good. Congrats.
So yeah, first shout out to
awesome.
my mic doing an awesome bit lately where it's working perfectly pre-show and then just decides to reset and disappear from StreamYard the second we go live. Love that. It's awesome. My least favorite trade structure, aside from the 2 that you guys have talked about already, is just and this probably falls somewhat into like the trading because I'm bored too, but it's just when it's like so many pieces that you have to pull out your calculator and like start drawing lines between the players and like it's like 7 players on one side and a couple picks and like 3 picks plus 2 players. It's just too much to even handle or for me to even compute just by looking at it for fewer than 20 seconds. That's my least favorite structure. And yeah, I don't know. It's not necessarily like horrible if you can actually get deals like that done. I'm sure it's fun, like power to you, but those are the ones I hate the most when people ask what I think of them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm sorry. Maybe it's maybe it's the boomer, like the early onset boomer that I'm experiencing. Like I'm in my gardening phase right now, right? I'm like mad when things aren't level for no reason. So I'm in early onset boomer territory right now, and maybe it's my boomer eyes. But if I see like 9 items on, I'm just gonna decline it and just like try to come up with something more reasonable that my brain can just take all at once. It's just more often than not, it's just a lot of jargon. So I'm right there with you, Ryan, but different reason. You're still young at heart. I've got boomer rejection eyes on that one for sure.
Old, Ryan's lazy. Lucas, your thoughts?
Yep.
Cheater.
Oh my gosh. So I think the one that I hate the most, and it's primarily because so many of my teams are in the rebuilding stage, is the team that is going to sell off 1 or 2 like premier pieces and they want every single one of your rebuilding pieces in return. And they
Yeah.
expect that to be a trade that's like something worth doing. And then they're coming back to you in the DM saying, man, I'm losing this trade. Look at like how good these players are. And you're not having to give that up that much. But it doesn't make at all any sort of sense for your team whenever, yeah, sure, you might have, I don't know, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but then you're only running out one quarterback and Sam Howell's on your bench and you're hoping he gets to start, and you're there with Jalen Warren potentially as your starting running back, and none of the rest of the roster then starts to make sense if you're having to give up, 6 first-round draft picks to do it. So those are the trades that I hate the most, is whenever it is kind of like that disproportionate of the person who realizes they're not quite good enough in terms of like their entire team and their premier players, to try to fit to a team that just doesn't make any sense for.
Yeah, that's something I want to get into as we talk about the anatomy of a trade and things that make sense in a trade, is just understanding the other person's intention. Like, you're in the league with somebody, for the most part, you might be new or you've come in as a wonderful team orphan. Shout out, me and my fellow orphans appreciate the work that you do and taking these rosters. But for the most part, like I know when someone on my team, like in my league, has been like setting up a plan for 3 years, it's pretty obvious. You're right. Maybe don't send them like Jamar Chase for like their next 4 ones. It's just not a reasonable ask in asset. I will say, when building a trade, the one thing I will say, another thing, and you guys can add on as we go here. This is more of a round table talk about just deal pet peeves in general, perhaps. But I'm doing you a favor trade offer.
Yeah.
I want to know what the hit rate on that is. That feels like, last week I made a dated movie reference, right? And I was told that the movie sucks. And I'm sorry, but I guess everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion. Matilda was awesome. I'm going to go to Night of the Roxbury. All right.
Wait, people said Matilda was a bad movie?
Yeah, in the YouTube comments. Terrible.
Okay,
opinion.
YouTube commenters, you have horrible taste. That is a
one
classic feel-good movie.
I want to reiterate, it was one specific person, and I hope you're watching so you hear this. I'm going to go with the Night of the Roxbury reference. Okay, I feel like sending trade offers and telling people you're doing them a favor by taking their players that are bad and giving you such great options. I feel like those are the same people, like in Night of the Roxbury, when they go into the clubs and hit on every woman that walks by and has a 0% hit rate. I feel like those two things are one and the same, because I've never accepted one of those. And I'm sure the three of you have never been like, you know what? My God, you know what? He's doing me what a guy. I mean, here's my I've only got one elite asset and you're going to give me 4 really good usable asset. I mean, what a discount. Like, what a guy. I'm assuming the three of you have never accepted one of these either.
No, if we're now pivoting into least favorite trade approaches, there's 2 by far that drive me the most crazy. Well, also just like generally being mean, but like 2 recently that drive me crazy. One is specific to Devi. When someone offers you a Devi player, but they don't say who, and you just get the kicker placeholder in your inbox, and then like they expect you to go to the pins and look at the Google sheet to see what kicker corresponds to what player and who I'm being offered. I'm not going to do that. I don't think that you're setting me a good enough offer for that to be worth my time. I'm going to immediately decline because I have no interest in looking up what kicker placeholder you're sending me. It drives me absolutely crazy. It ruins my day. My other least favorite is when someone sends you like the worst offer ever, and then you just reject, and then they come back to you and be like, well, would you trade this player? And then usually my answer is like, yes, but not for like Damian Martinez or whatever. And then it's like, they're like, well, what do you want? And it's like, all you've done is send me something terrible and then ask me to do labor for you. Like I'm so aggravated now.
God.
Like I could have just done nothing, but instead, like I've had to like already check an offer, reject an offer, and now I have to do homework to look at your roster no. Send me a better offer. I'll look at it.
This is like John Ellis says, I listen to the Dynasty Market Report every week and I want to make some kind of trade. He said, but I'm responsible though. So shout out to you for listening to the Market Report. New episode will be out Saturday. We talk about this all the time. Like if you are complaining, right? Everyone in my league sucks. They can't get trades. Like they can't do trades. They don't get all their trade. If everyone in your league's trade offers are ass, but everyone in your league is getting trades done but you're the problem. Okay, you're the issue. If everyone else is able to just get deals done and you're the one, you're mocking every trade, or you're the I would have paid more guy, or whatever variation of this scenario, and I'm here to tell you, your ass. Okay, there's at least one per league I found that is like this. If everyone else gets deals done, you're the problem. Ryan, least favorite trade, I will say trade etiquette, I guess, as we dive in.
So my least favorite is any trade that's accompanied by a keep trade cut screenshot, because that just drives me insane.
God.
Like what are we doing here? I understand keep trade cut's a resource. I will check it to get an idea of whether I think other people might accept deals or might be close to me in value on something I'm cooking up. But to send the keep trade cut screenshot with it showing it as an even trade or whatever to defend your trade that someone's just told you they don't like.
Yeah.
It's like, whose mind is that going to change? It's completely pointless. And if you ever send me a keep trade cut screenshot, I will 100%, I will make it Jacob doesn't like wasting time. I will waste my time on this. I will spend the next 15 minutes getting keep trade cut to say whatever the fuck I want it to and send you that back so that it's the most disgustingly stupid trade that would completely destroy your roster that keep trade cut says is appropriate. I will spend the 15 minutes doing that just to prove a point. Yeah.
I think I would actually rather have the keep trade cut screenshot than sometimes people will send back. I'll reject a trade and they'll be like, if I add up the pieces and these pieces on your rankings, I constantly get my own rankings cited back to me. And that actually aggravates me even more. That's like that is like, first of all, it like presupposes that because I produce rankings that I'm like morally like not allowed to attempt to win dynasty trades and leagues, which like is which like aggravates me immensely. I also just like I'm in a constant state of like I understand that I probably owe at minimum like 24% of my subscriber income on the basis that I do rankings in a way that allows people to effectively use them as a trade calculator. And I also despise that people use my rankings as a trade calculator. And every constant reminder that I'm just like a walking paradox of hypocrisy and pain, I can't deal with it. I absolutely can't deal with it.
That's true too.
The base first value tiers are 100% like Robert De Niro doing Meet the Fockers. Like I'm not proud of it, but like I do need to occasionally buy a new vape.
Yeah. I mean that's how I base mine out as well. We've been on par with that. I will say I found it hilarious and also aggravating when I get trade negotiations, right? And the person goes, well, that's not where Jakob has him ranked. And I went, great. Happy, but this is where I do. Like I know where he has him. Let me go ask him. I'll text him right now. Let him know that it's fair. I want to point out, Gogo Jin states, the part where you say this is a fair trade, I replied to their counter with my offer was fair. This is something that we should talk about often, and it's fair is subjective. Good and bad for an offer is subjective, right? We're talking about within reason. Maybe we're setting the base of within market, etc. But in my opinion, like fair and reasonable are one thing, but for the most part, I find when you get in a situation like that, it's that someone is looking for something specific, right? That they're looking to hit some specific range in what their value is, which is why they won't accept a quote fair offer, or they're not really that interested in trading for a person or player or picks, etc. I find that to be the case most often. Also, the idea I see you. The idea of an opening offer was going to be another one of my other ones. Just send something you think would get accepted. The opening offer thing, you just like, it's like bad when you send it. Like you're like, they're probably not going to send. I like, me personally, I like to send a deal that I think could get accepted like right away. I'm not afraid of quote losing a deal. If you would, I'm also not a DMer. So if you're a DMer and that's like your thing, like that's cool. The chances of me like going verbally toe to toe with you to like negotiate through a deal, it's slim to almost zero that I'm going to do that. So maybe that's hindering me a little bit in that case with the quote opener. I sent you an opener. Here's a starter. Just send me like, again, you're in leagues with these folks. For the most part, your league mates, right? Be somewhere like, look, if you know me, I'm not trading Rashee Rice for less than X and X. If you want Rashee Rice, your opener should be something that fits within that, because chances are I've either said it, I've posted it, it's up somewhere, we've spoken about it, etc. So that's important to note when we're talking through some of this stuff as well.
And I think you do have to know your league mates there. There's some people who are more like amenable to that type of offer, to where you can send like, here's a list of players that I know don't make the trade that you're wanting to happen, but here's the players that like I'm definitely willing to work with. And then you start to fill in the margins from there. But sometimes you're going to scare some owners off if you're doing that kind of stuff. You just have to know what it's going to be or how it is with your league mates. I know that there's definitely sometimes I've done stuff like that and I'm getting like immediate, like crazy reverse offers because somebody doesn't really like it. Sometimes though, it like leads to a better discussion. And I think that those are the trades that I end up being happiest with, but that's just more of my trading philosophy. I feel like for me, putting in more effort to get the trade done sometimes just leads to better outcomes. It's also a nice way to fill the day. And I'm not in 70 leagues. I'm in a number of leagues where that's easier to do. If you know that the player on the other end has 25 plus leagues that they're in, and they're going to give this 5 seconds of a look and then move on to the next thing, then yeah, you want to make sure that you're trying to progress that conversation more, or make it to where it doesn't have to be exchange of DMs. It can be, here's an offer, here's a counter, and maybe just one more counter offer after that to move along. And that's something that we've said, I don't even know for how many years at this point, know your league mates. And really the only way you can do that is by messaging them, being in more leagues with them, or listening to their podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Sean Jeffer says, let's talk about the Darnold trade with Buck last year. Mostly strangers, worked out well for him. I think this was the Darnold for a 2 scenario. I got to tell you, Darnold's value didn't really go up. So
no, but you got a
good run
season out of him in the midtime. So
right.
Anytime. I mean, here's the thing, right? If you can get above replacement production out of any player, and then they don't lose value after the season, that's a massive win. You're like, getting that value in points. I
can't sell Darnold for scraps at this point. Like I can't. I'm just right back to maybe he doesn't have a job level Darnold right now. Ryan, you and I talked about this where we thought on this show his ADP was going to go significantly up, and it just toast.
You got a tough run out for sure with the like kind of the fake long-term contract.
Yeah,
the Milrow pick. I think there's a lot of fair skepticism around Sam Darnold at this point.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's kind of crazy. I feel like when the deal happened and he went to the Seahawks, we kind of did like the very measured analysis of like, oh well maybe this could work in like the Kubiak system. Like we see like some potential ways this could work out, but like it's Sam Darnold, guys. Don't go crazy. But now his ADP just makes me want to be like, yeah, I think this might actually work this year. So yeah, I have no issues with Darnold right now.
Just an interesting thing. I want to run through just some of I think we hit this pretty well. Just some etiquette things in a trade, like find things that your other managers actually need, fit it in. And I'm going to hit what's left here in the comments, and then we're going to move on. Go Jen says, that's exactly it. Manager X wants your player, but will only complete the offer if it heavily favors them. Yuck or clueless. I'll say this. When you stop needing to win every deal, your life is going to be so much better. You're going to live a happier and freer life. John Paul Taylor says, when they message you, would you sell this player? I always say, send me your best offer, and pretty much it halves the wasted time of trade negotiations. Agreed, right? I found a good way to combat this is to change your player nickname, right? This is what I'm looking for. Like around here, you go and you set like, Patrick Mahomes, 3 firsts or close, or any second, or whatever, player and a pick. I find that really helps reduce some of the unwanted back and forth. John Atlas says even a bad offer can be a good negotiation if you want to have good fantasy banter. 100%. If that's kind of your thing, sure. For me, I find it tiring, and I often come off as just like a really sarcastic asshole, I've learned. So it's usually just better for me to say less. So that's what I do. I got some real dumb trades made in some of my leagues. Just can't fix stupid. I mean, some are just completely egregious for sure. All right. That's going to do it for that. If you ask us questions in here, we are going to hit that. As you can see, we have a Dynasty Q&A here. We save all of those, so you're going to want to sit tight. We're going to do some roster review, which I am more nervous for than I probably have the right to be. But we're going to do it anyway. We're going to put ourselves out there for the people. So when we come back, like I said, we have roster review. We are pulling back the curtains. So sit tight. You are not going to want to miss what we have coming up next. All right, I did that right. Let's go. Jacob.
One sec. I'm going to try to adjust the blinds because somehow like the sun is at the exact level that it just keeps going in and out of being like perfectly visible to completely ruining.
I likened it to, again, maybe I'm going to date myself with this movie reference, but in the original Wrath of Khan, when Khan is delivering his speech to Kirk on the bridge of his ship, and it goes staticky constantly, like mid-conversation, I feel like Jacob is doing his best Khan impression right now. So shout out to the blinds. It is the sun is a paid actor.
It's a sunny day. It's a sunny day out here in the Pacific Northwest, as you can certainly tell. So I apologize, but I think we're better now. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Everybody's loaded up their rosters into a little sheet that we're sharing with you. We want to get all of your input as well from the comments. And everybody was asked to put forward not, one of our best rosters, probably not our worst roster either, but a roster that is at somewhat of a crossroads where I think there is a possibility to go in a few different directions. Do you push in? Do you sell? How do you sort of manage whatever problems you might have at certain positions? That's very funny. And let's start. We can start with mine here, since I put the sheet together. So what we're gonna do is everybody else is not the one being examined under the knife. Is going to be the one sort of suggesting what they would do with it, maybe from a overall perspective. And then also maybe some micro, who would they try to move? What would be the kind of players they want to target? you guys come in as well in the chat for sure. This is a team.
I was just going to say, let's get some background too. Where have you been the last couple years, etc., points, value, etc.?
This is a team I've had going for, I want to say 3 or 4 years. And it was one where I was very competitive the first year. It got very old fast. I then sold off in the second year, and I did a very quick rebuild and was competitive again last year. I can't remember what happened in the playoffs. I know I didn't win the league, but I can't remember if I was eliminated in like quarters or semis or whatever. But unfortunately, some of the dudes that I took on, just kind of tanked faster than I would have thought. So Mark Andrews being the main one. And then the big one is obviously last year I go in thinking, oh, great. I have, 2 long-term starting quarterbacks in Kyler and A-Rich. And I have a nice third quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Now I probably have 1 quarterback. And so all of a sudden now I had all this excess of 24 picks. Those have been spent. A lot of the 25 picks were spent building this up last year. And now it's this kind of weird top-heavy roster where I have 4 stud wide receivers. I have Kyler. I have Bucky. Everything else after that gets like old and fragile pretty fast. And I'm trying to figure out how to string this along going forward. For the audio listeners, I'll read out not every player on the roster, but everyone of note. Kyler, A-Rich, and Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Bucky Irving, Joe Mixon, James Conner are the main running backs, and then like a ton of kind of depth backup running backs. Jefferson, Puka, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, big wide receivers, and then a big drop off to Diggs, Jalen McMillan, and a couple other dudes. Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz for a very old tight end room with Elijah Arroyo being the 4th. All of these rosters we're talking about are super flex dynasty.
Yeah, that was obviously that's obviously going to be the number one. We got to figure out a quarterback scenario. Oh, so when you're looking at this, are you just praying that like, man, Kirk Cousins is going to go somewhere and play, so I have a second quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to acquire a second quarterback now, but I'm not like that desperate about it because I do think I have outs. Like I don't think A-Rich is going to start week 1, but I do feel like he's going to start parts of this year at least. And there's going to be some point in time this season that he's going to be named the starter. And I mean, I would move him today if I could, but I'm kind of working with that. And I also think Cousins has a decent chance of winding up somewhere starting this year or next. So if I end up getting to a point where I for sure don't have any week 1 starter, I will almost certainly make a trade for one. For now, I'm not trying to go ahead and overpay for anybody. Yeah, I would love to get the anytimes. For sure.
Shout out 100 Thieves on the Webby profile
picks
picture.
By the way, is very boring. I have all of my own picks. I have no one else's picks.
Yeah.
I think when I look at this, this is one where I say you acquire like a week 1 QB starter as cheaply as possible. Like a Geno Smith, like a Daniel Jones or whatever, something like that. And then you just, at the first sign of trouble, if it's like week 3 or week 4, you just turn around and sell all the running backs. Like you sell, obviously you would sell the Mixons and the Connor if you don't think you're contending, but even like the Bucky Irving, I think is a totally movable piece for this team that has no like really long-term answer at QB2. That's probably what I would lean to just get like the extra 26 or 27 capital, put yourself in a position to have like a real QB2 going into one of those years, most likely, because you're set at wide receiver and you can kind of sit on this roster for as long as you need to like hit on those last couple contending pieces.
So you mentioned the wide receivers. One of the reasons I picked this roster in particular was because I think there's one interesting break glass in case of emergency option, which is obviously there's a high value of the top 4 wide receivers. Basically, like the tight end position is dying unless Arroyo becomes something. And there's nothing really beyond those 4 wide receivers. What would you consider moving any of those top 4 wide receivers? And if so, what would be the kind of return that any of you guys would get if you were looking at a Jefferson, Puka, Malik, or Drake trade?
Well, we've got one suggestion from chat, which is Malik for JD during the season. I think you might be hard pressed to get that done.
Yeah, I think that's.
But you could do that for sure. I'm hesitant to move receivers. I'm hesitant not for a QB2. As everyone knows, I will punt that position and find fillers as much as possible. I will just go and dig for the Joe Flaccos and whoever else might I be able to fill a spot in. For me, I mean, you've got the Chicago Bears future RB1 and Kyle Monangai. I mean, you obviously love to see that. Rutgers legend Kyle Monangai. I'm trying to find whoever the rebuilder / Devi player is in your league that just knows the talent of some of these guys and start shipping off some of these mid-tier backup running backs for some draft capital and then try to parlay that into a bigger deal. Like, trades don't have to be a linear thing. They don't have to be this just to solve this problem. I think you have so many backup, hopeful type running backs that are probably ass, or at least more reasonably able to project to be ass, but somebody in that league is going to believe in them that they have the right backup, or this is not really a backup. He's a starter just waiting for a shot. If you could package some of the Ray Davis, Dylan Sampson, not Kyle Monangai, obviously,
right,
but the JCM pick just feels like this year's Kamani Vidal.
For reference for the audio listeners, like, I have a hilarious amount of backup running backs in this team. It's Javonte, Tank Bigsby, Braylon Allen, Jalen Wright, Ray Davis, Dylan Sampson, Woody Marks, Kyle Monangai, Davey Martinez, JCM, and Jaleel McLaughlin are all on this team.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So someone, the Devi player in your league, or the guy that just knows talent, right? If he exists in that league, I'm trying to send some of these guys away to get some draft capital, because that looks a lot sexier to someone trading away, that super flex spot than maybe some running back.
I might take a look at if there is any teams with either like an old and expendable QB2, like in the Geno Stafford range, or even a Daniel Jones, since I already have a Rich and then I'm covered. Or like, even because I have the 4 like elite wide receivers, and it's like no other wide receivers. So I wouldn't mind having like a somewhere in the middle wide receiver. I do have Diggs. But I wonder if there's like a possibility to take like a second and one or two of like Braylon Allen, Jalen Wright, Ray Davis, Tank Bigsby, Jalen McMillan, those types, and like find a way to MacGyver that into something if there's like some team that wants to get rid of an old dude and get a little younger.
What about potentially like moving somebody like Justin Jefferson for like a package of, I don't know, Baker Mayfield, Rashee Rice, and a future second?
That sounds gross to me.
Okay.
That's like a deal. Like, that specific return I find quite gross. But I do think there's a case to be made for moving one of the 4 receivers. That I think I would struggle with. Like, if I was doing it, thing is, so someone brought up the Malik for Jaden Daniels. I'll give maybe a more realistic version of that deal would be like Malik Neighbors for, I don't know, who would be the best quarterback you could think of that you could actually get for Malik Neighbors. I don't think you get Jaden Daniels straight. You could probably get like
Joe Burrow, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe Joe Burrow, maybe Justin Herbert plus a second or something.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
you get a Herbert deal done for sure.
That's like a thing. But my issue with that is like, then it like reallocates the value, but I'm still like 1 starter short. Like, if I just do that straight across, like now I just need a wide receiver instead of a quarterback. So to me, the deal is like kind of what Lucas is saying. But then when I think about that deal in practice, I like want to vomit. So, right. I see how that works.
Let's get creative here then. Like, still try to think of something more, feasible in terms of deals possible. Like, what tier quarterback then are you looking at? Is Baker just too far down? Are there too many unknowns? If I would have said potentially Brock Purdy instead of Baker Mayfield, and I don't know, just
quarterback I'm loving.
Okay.
Let me take a look at actual teams in this league.
Hashtag
really quick.
Brock better than Lawrence Purdy.
And then I'm gonna find an actual deal to send out before we move on to someone else.
Okay, I'll say this. I'm gonna combine a couple of things from the chat. Okay, so first off, Dynasty Barry says, why overpay for a QB2? We're not talking about overpaying for a QB2. We're either trying to find an upper tier solution to not have to worry about this later, or finding a reasonably priced filler, which is something that I am, kind of a genius in doing. I won't lie. John Atlas says, I would play small ball at QB2 like Tom. Of course, this is really just kicking the can down the road. We always know. Gogojan says you have all the soon to be RB1 backups. That's the person we need to find. And I also want to point out that Tony is kind of where I'm at, not in necessarily the deal structure, but knowing when A-Rich plus Kirk are dead for sure is going to make this definitely a lot easier to sort out, because right now we don't totally know. And unfortunately, Kyler's unfortunately QB2. That's just not statistically accurate.
He's a fringe QB1, QB2.
I mean,
if you look
this year was the first year he was
typically finishes. He's very likely to live in the QB8 to QB15 range.
Yeah, this year was the first year that he played like a significant amount of games and finished outside of the top 10 in points per game. He was 11. He's just never been a QB2 really. So he is like the perfect tweener in terms of that regard anyway. John Paul Taylor says Knicks, Penix, McCarthy types, question mark.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into those guys certainly more than the Bakers and Purdy's. It's just a matter of getting the deal. I did set out 2 while you guys were talking at the low end. We'll see how that goes. I found a guy who has Stroud, Love, and Geno as a third. I have no idea whether he'd be willing to just ride with 2 or not. I sent 2 offers that I think are almost certainly above Geno's keep trade cut value, but I sent one, which was Anthony Richardson, and a third for Geno. And then the other one was, if he has no interest in A-Rich, I sent a second, my 26th second, plus Braylon Allen and Jalen McMillan. So we'll see what comes with any of those.
Yeah, I think those are totally fine deals. I think that realistically, you're in like the perfect zone to push a compete window if that one spot was somewhat filled. This looks like a lot of my like rosters in late May right into June, where is Aaron Rodgers gonna sign anywhere? Like I've been waiting for, is Kirk Cousins gonna do anything? Will Flacco? I have a lot of like Flacco, Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, Rodgers. So one of those 4 is gonna play, and then that's all I'm gonna need. So those are also some options as well. Here's the part about quarterback trading that most people overlook. There are so few players that have the capacity to just trade you a quarterback without getting one back. This is why I'm always saying that if you are without your QB2, you might as well staple a sign on your forehead that says kick me. But I'm also not going to let a QB hoarder upcharge me to a degree that's egregious and then just completely counterproductive to my roster, which is also, it is a permanent fight for balance. So,
all right, time to sub in someone else's roster here.
Let's sub in someone else's roster.
All right, who's going in the hot seat next?
I'll step in. All right, I can step in. I'll take it.
Okay.
Speaking of weird QB rooms, we got another one. This is my
featuring Kyler Murray.
Also featuring Kyler Murray.
And no other good quarterbacks. I didn't realize that we were doing this twitting. But,
as a bit. All right. So to start off, this team I drafted very poorly. My 4
quarterback
years
room
ago.
feels great, by the way. I wasn't loving my quarterback room, but now it looks a lot better.
I drafted this team 3 or 4 years ago, and the first year I was like in that dangerous 7 to 6 spot with no rookie draft lottery, and I just decided I needed to cut ties immediately with a lot of my players, and so I did that, and I've been in a process of just trying to put this together, and unfortunately I missed last year so far on the Marvin Harrison pick. That obviously has not worked out the way that I was hoping to kickstart it. So this is why this is a team where I took Hunter, 1-2, 1-3. I figured this team can take some more risks, seeing as how it's not going to get turned around this year. So for the listening audience, we have Kyler Murray, we have Puff Diddy, Deshaun Watson out in Cleveland on the roster. We have Shador, who I took late in the third. The stars here for everyone watching is the on my taxi. We've had some running backs I have just been unable to move at any opportunity. Ken Walker, I haven't been able to move him off my roster since I drafted him. Tyrone Tracy Jr., even when he was blowing up, I sent out multiple offers, couldn't get him off the roster. We took our shot on Trey Benson. We have Ray Davis. I've just another sea of potential backups, the Blake Corums, etc. And then, of course, Najee and Mondre. Tough run for those guys, right? Nobody wanted them pre-draft, and now with Hendo and Hampton, I'm kind of just stuck with some more handcuffs. Wide receiver is not the worst. I got Ayuk pretty cheap post-injury as like a piece I could try to use. We got Marvin Harrison Jr., Rashee Rice, who I also made a deal for when he got hurt and got some more pieces back. And then Travis Hunter. And outside of that, we've got like some maybes like Charles Tillman and Jack Beck, and tight end, super gross, Jatavian Sanders, Mike Gesicki, Noah Gray, who please, just Travis Kelce, retire, and please let Noah Gray be the next man up, because I have like
Thomas forced me to draft Noah Gray in a startup this week. Can you believe that?
Did not force you, you liar. I'll pull the text.
I also have a note. I don't know if this was already covered in the last 30 seconds because I had become entranced by trying to find other options for my team that I just discussed. But is Peanut Tillman on this team?
He's not.
Yeah, I believe that's Cedric Tillman.
Oh, my bad. Look, no one has ever accused me of being able to read. Shout out FBI agent Peanut Tillman, by the way, leading that live.
The new Travis Hunter. He's playing both ways.
He's playing both ways. I'm just leaving it now, by the way. I'm not even going to change it. And then, of course, I took some shots. I think, Terrence Ferguson and Elijah Arroyo can bring back some value. This is a start 10 Superflex tight end premium, and I own all my own picks as well. Obviously, the Michael Mayer thing, that didn't work out. I've just had some this is one of those rosters where I took some swings in rebuild. And this is I don't know if you guys have ever watched this, but Vice does this like dark side of the ring, right, for wrestling, where they tell the deep, gritty, sad and depressing stories of the world of pro wrestling. We're getting that view in fantasy football right here, because this is what happens when those picks don't hit. This is what happens when you trade players for a player plus capital and it doesn't totally go in your favor. You don't make all the right decisions. Now, look, I know I'm on Twitter and I know that I do fantasy football for a living, but I got to tell you, there's no 98% win rate. It's not a 500% ROI. It's just not how it actually is all the time. And people stating as such just leave the leagues that their teams are bad. So they don't #take an L. So it's like hitting reset on the Nintendo 64 back in the day before you could actually lose a match versus your friends. That's kind of what that's like in terms of fantasy football. So this is my team, Weaponized Autism. Let's figure out what I should be doing.
Okay. I think the first thing that enters my mind looking at this team is it harkens back to a rebuilding strategy that we once discussed on this program that I think Jakob called the hedge fund, which is basically if you can't like sell off all your players for picks that are going to gain value slowly over time in like a guaranteed way, what you could do is get a bunch of players that are maybe poor bets individually or not the greatest individually or not as good as picks, but in the aggregate, some number of them are going to hit in hopefully a big way. And that can kind of like save the value of your team. I don't know if this was done like on purpose, Tom, because I know you're saying a lot of these running backs you've tried to get off your roster, but from like a low value team perspective, obviously you don't want like the points of a Ken Walker or like the potential points of like a Trey Benson if he takes over the job. But this running back room specifically, I'm kind of cool just sitting on in the season where a lot of these guys can find themselves like very suddenly just entering a week or like the next month or the next 2 months as like a clear starting running back that somebody might actually pay for. Because right now, a lot of them are kind of like theoretical. Even like a Benson could gain like legitimate dynasty value depending how this year goes. So even like I want to say, oh, it's not a contender, sell off all your running backs, but you've made it sound like that's not been possible. So I think this is one where you could just kind of ride in and plan to like be active and try to sell some of these guys mid-season.
Yeah.
Will we get demonetized if I screen share the Anthony Bourdain breaks down what a CDO is from the
probably.
short?
Yeah.
Okay. That is like exactly this roster to me is Anthony Bourdain like chopping up all of the like bad fish. And
you're right.
And talking about the CDO of the shitty loans. Shout out to Anthony Bourdain. Oh, and shout out to Brokemon. I promise that I didn't steal that from you. I have this metaphor in previous articles.
There's no hope for Najee or Mondo.
So the weird thing about this roster to me is that I don't think, absent a lot of very good fortune, that there's like an obvious path to contention this year, and that one, there's like no realistic path. Well, I guess Shedeur is probably going to be a starting quarterback at some point this year. I don't know when. I don't think he should be projected to be a particularly productive starting quarterback this year. And I don't know that there's like enough on the rest of this roster to make up for that hole at quarterback, especially when you consider there's probably not a lot of tight end. But I also don't know who you trade, because I'm looking at this and it's like, okay, Walker, I would like to get rid of at some point this year. I don't know that now is the best time. I'd certainly explore options. Harrison is interesting because he's the one that jumps out to me as like a guy who I actually think I might try to look to move. But obviously, in like a macro sense, year two young player, not at all bad fit to be part of a rebuilding team. And I think guys like, to me, it's like guys like Benson, Ray Davis, Blake Corum. It's like, well, it's like maybe Ray Davis is a guy you could sell this summer because people are always really weird about running back holdouts. And like there's going to be like some weirdo in your league that might think James Cook is just going to not play or something.
Well, but
outside of that, like you're probably better off just holding these guys and hoping one of them gets hurt and then selling them once they're playing.
So John Paul Taylor said the same thing. The only problem with selling to the James Cook owner is it's our good friend Austin, who I don't think has traded for a running back in 6 years. So he's not
check his notifications.
He's not going to do it. Well, he's avoiding Sleeper right now for obvious reasons. But I will say there is someone in that league that has been interested in making big money moves, and that's you, Jacob. So I fully expect you to be sliding into the DMs. You are. This is the Full Tilt Discord League number 5. Oh. So there's a potential option here for a deal on air that could end up making some sense.
I think I need.
I don't do this.
Receivers.
I don't do this stuff by accident. Okay, I do this on purpose for content for the people.
Someone else talk. I gotta evaluate it.
Yeah, I guess so. Like Tom, if we're baiting Jacob into a trade here, like what are you looking to add when you look at this roster? Because if we take what Jacob just said for what it is, that he needs wide receivers there,
right?
Your wide receivers are kind of like the only pieces here that you absolutely love having on a roster like this. So I would find that pretty challenging.
Oh, I also need running back.
You'll hit me with something different.
I could actually
go. That makes it
I looked at my team. This is a weird team. So I have quarterback. I'm fine. I have Trevor, Bo Nix, and I have Geno.
I do have one trade. I have one trade in my inbox, and I'm not a fan of it. It is moving my 26-1, which is obviously with this team not something I want to do. Brandon Ayuk and a third for Ricky Pearsall and Jared Goff. That's not really some. I didn't decline it yet.
We would get Pearsall and Goff for
We
Ayuk
would get
third?
Ayuk my 1 and a third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Before you added the 1 part, I was like, why haven't you accepted
well,
that one?
I said 1, but you were busy deep into your roster. But I hadn't declined that yet because I wanted to run that by the chat. Now, I'm not into this because this team's not good enough to survive not having my 1.
I'd be sketched about that, yeah.
Yeah, when you're in this kind of scenario where you obviously need to make a move, you want to be in full control of your own picks, even if it's like, I can solve this problem. No. So that's not going to solve it. I'm going to hit decline live on air.
Yeah,
so
I have a rule of thumb with trading 1s, which is like, generally speaking, and there are exceptions, but the rule of thumb should be if you need to trade your 1 to compete, you probably shouldn't trade your 1.
Because you're not competing. I agreed.
Would be like if you have like a very high value team, but it has like 1 gaping hole, and for whatever reason you can't do a player for player trade, maybe you just trade the 1 on a team like that. But I wouldn't hear. So my team is interesting in this league. It's not terrible. I wouldn't say it's good either. Quarterbacks are, maybe you guys can moderate a trade. I'll let Ryan and Lucas play mediator.
Let's do it.
You know, if there's anything to make sense.
This has never worked out for me, by the way. I've been fleeced every time Jacob and I have done this in a room.
I'll leave myself at the mercy of the mediators. I have no idea if I don't have anything in mind yet, but here's my team. So I have Trevor, Bo, and Gino at quarterback. It's very Jacob quarterback room.
That is,
yeah. I have like 2 really good running backs and then nothing else. I have Gibbs, Achan at running back. My only other running backs on my entire roster are Miles Sanders and Antonio Gibson. So I could certainly use a third. Wide receiver, I have AJ Brown, Chris Olave, and then it does get pretty gross. I got Jacoby Myers, Cortland Sutton. I do have a Emeka Ibuka, and then like no one else of like major note. Xavier Legette, if anyone cares. And then tight end, I have like a very deep tight end room of old men. I have George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Dallas Goedert. It is tight end premium, and I will certainly be flexing sometimes 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Picks wise, I have all of my own, except I don't have my 26-2, and I have an extra 4.
Right. So there could be something to work through there. I'm just going to go through the chat, Jacob, while you kind of.
I'm not thinking about it. I'm letting the mediators decide.
Yeah. So Papacino says Tom is 4D chessing. No, look, if someone is going to, and if I'm just going to beat the chat to it, not the chat specifically, but the YouTube comment section, which can be unfriendly at times. You'll be like, these guys do fantasy all the time. How does a roster get, look, sometimes in life you get insanely big and a roster gets thrown by the wayside. And I wasn't always, sometimes we did 80-hour weeks doing job. And look, people even in the industry just get busy sometimes. And some dynasty rosters just kind of get forgotten about. This one kind of got forgot about because like my, adopted parents, they didn't want to look at the stepchild every day. And I knew this was a black mark in my fantasy profile. And I didn't always want to, stare at it and try to fix it. You shoo it in the corner and hope it figures it out on its own. That didn't happen. So that is why we're using this trade today. And we are pulling the curtains back. This is what it was for. So still, I like the chat is saying a lot of like, you have a lot of seconds in that running back room. Unfortunately, that's only if the rest of the room agrees, which has been a problem. The room has not loved the running backs that I've tried to trade. I'm actually going to look at the Ken Walker trade history because now I am curious.
No, you guys mediate something. I have literally 2 running backs on my team. Figure something out.
Yeah, can we just do Ibuka for Ken Walker straight up? Like I think that works for Tom value wise. I think that works for Jacob need wise. I don't think the value's that off. I know.
Then all I have is like a bunch of old receivers.
You said you have Sutton and Myers behind AJ Brown and someone else, right?
Then my 5th receiver would be like Liggett. Yeah, I have AJ Brown, Olave, I have Sutton and Myers. So Ibuka is like my 5th wide receiver this year, but he would be my third most valuable, or probably my second most valuable wide receiver.
Sure, but I mean that's like that's the exact type of asset that if you want to make a contention push, that's what you should be trading. He's not like critical to your starting lineup, higher value than his projected points are. It works for Tom that most of his value, at least theoretically, is going to convey like a year from now. So that's just like the most natural fit to me. You guys can haggle over if someone needs to add a third or something, but
I will. I'm not making any changes. I had no idea what this said before I looked it up. I pulled up my rankings just to do a little bias check after that was suggested. I have them in the same tier. I do have Ibuka solidly higher. I have him at 61. I have Ken Walker at 72 for reference.
Let me go have a look. I'll do the same thing. Everyone is saying, just do the damn deal. Someone just said, ask Jakob what he wants for Gino.
I don't get what the chat's talking about. The chat's talking about Tom trading for my Gino. This makes no sense to me. I understand that he doesn't have quarterbacks and that I have an extra quarterback. I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense for Tom's roster to trade for a 35-year-old Geno Smith right now. I wouldn't decline it out of hand, but it doesn't seem like a great idea to me.
So what if you were doing, say, Ken Walker and Jack Besh for Ibuka in your 27th second?
Yeah, but
that's going to be a harder no for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and like so in a deal for that, right? Because I also have Ibuka and Ken Walker in the same tier, so we're both right there, and I do have Ibuka a little bit higher.
If there was a way you wanted to compete, the way actually that might make sense is if I somehow bundle. I don't know if there's a way to make this work, but if I did somehow bundle Gino and one of my 3 tight ends, that would solve your 2 biggest problems.
What are you talking about? I've got tight end 1 Jatavian Sanders. Like I don't know.
You got tight end 1 Jatavian Sanders.
Yeah,
we'll even trade a third for him. To me, goodness.
Well, not on that roster, Lucas.
Well, sorry, we got in chat, Pappuccino. Won't Gino make Tom's team potentially playoff worthy?
No, I need a lot to go right there.
So,
Rasheed Hunter and Marvin Harrison all have to be like elite.
Yeah, and so can he make the playoffs if he trades for Geno Smith right now? Yes. Is he at all likely to win the league? No. And the most likely outcome there is his running back room continues to lose value year over year. The quarterback room again loses value year over year, and he's right back where he started with less value on his team next year, and a worse first round pick.
And let's not forget, Terrence Ferguson is doing away with hate crime Higbee in LA, and he's going to get lit up as Matthew Stafford's new favorite Caucasian tight end. So let's not forget that.
What would you need for your 2, if I took your 2 like very dusty boys, like if I just took Najee and Mondre, what do you say to that, mediators? What could I offer for those 2?
I totally forgot who was on your roster, Jacob. I'll be totally honest.
Here's what I have for here's what I got for Najee Mondre level assets.
Okay.
So as in, here's what I got for young or picks and not very valuable. We have, the rookies are like no one all that interesting. It's Elikale Manor, Savion Williams, Xavier Restrepo, and Jalen Lane. I also have those tight ends if that's of any interest with Goddard and Andrews and Kittle. And then I have no 26 second. I do have my 26th, 3rd, and 4th. Obviously, my first, I'm not trading my first for Najee and Ramondre. And then I have all the 27 picks, including an extra 27-4. I think I mentioned Liget, who I guess exists.
No, stop trying to push the Liget narrative, as you've mentioned him twice now. I'm okay not having the Liget narrative. You not having a 26-2 complicates my moving of the Mondre Najee conundrum, but we could do, we could probably work out
Oh, God, Big DS. That's the grossest trade I've ever seen in my life.
for Kittle forever.
Yeah,
forever
all of these trades being offered in the chat. My God, if I could take Tom's for both side in any of these in any league, I would dance a jig down my block.
Right.
Not happening.
So I think
maybe we're back at this Ibuka for Walker framework, but I hate it so much.
What about
Guys, you both have them in the same tier. They
I know it's the exact
opposingly
trade that
serve
needs to
your
happen.
team needs. You should be
I have
able to
Ibuka
figure
higher.
this out.
All right,
See,
can you add a little something for me?
Why would I be adding the sauce here? Like this is the Jake.
Can we do Ken Walker and Mondre for Ibuka?
Do I
would
like,
do that only for the purposes of making this entertaining. I wouldn't do that outside of the show, but I would accept it in this circumstance.
I feel like I'm getting.
I'd also do Najee instead if you like him less.
I want to get both of them off my roster. I will say I'll do that just for the sake of the program. We will do this for the sake. Hold on. Don't hit it yet. Share that screen. And then
are we getting a live trade acceptance on the screen share?
Everyone's saying only if I get a snack back. Guys, Ken Walker is not helping this roster.
I'm not.
All right, we need a young wide receiver.
You guys want your fourth? Sure, you can have my extra 27 fourth. If the chat wants to feel like they've helped Tom out. There you go.
Look, this is the thing.
This is my good services for the chat, who apparently likes running backs a lot more than I fucking do. Is that Tom gets my 27 for.
And like it's important to note, like we're trading with Jakob here, who's like gonna push for every piece of value possible. So we're gonna.
That's not true. I just gave you a fourth that I didn't have to.
I'm explaining why. I'm explaining why we're getting squeamish on a deal like this. I'll do that live. We'll do it live. Done. Trade done.
Okay, so if you're in this league, guys, please go type in the league chat right now that I don't care which one you say, but either Jakob or Thomas get fleeced, and we'll find out for sure, for real, which one it is. Whoever hears this and goes and types in this league chat.
Wait to go and trade
Ken
away
Walker for 2 firsts. You're just not getting that. Yes, I could not move Walker. I think the most I got for Ken Walker was like 2 seconds. And a Devi favorite type player that's never going to be good in the league because Devi football is not real.
I take back what I said. My troll message would be I would have paid more for Ken Walker. That's bullshit. That would be my
that's
rest assured, by the way, like that there's no chance that this Gibbs, Achane, Walker trio makes it to week 1. Devon Achane and Gibbs are not long for this team. That's the real reason that I wanted to get rid of Walker is I don't like how much I'm invested at running back. I can now slide Walker into RB2, hopefully trade one of Gibbs or Achane. That's the real goal here.
That's the play. Yeah, like I know people are going to have value like all over the place, but here's the thing that I got Ken Walker. I traded
Christian Darnell Washington after that trade.
Big boy right there.
You didn't mention him. Maybe we could have worked him into the deal.
I will say, so I got Ken as part of when I started to tear this team down. I traded Christian McCaffrey away pre-injury for Ken Walker in a 24-1. Right, that was how that ended up being, and then I end up moving Ken Walker away for the Ibuka, so I'm totally fine with this. Papacino just asked.
I don't think it is 50 cents to the dollar. Like I don't know. I guess maybe the chat likes running backs more. For the record, like it's not like I doctored these rankings. I had no idea I was even in this league when Tom put this in. I have Ibuka ranked a full round ahead of Walker in my rank. So it's not like this is like some crazy contrived deal.
So this is the other thing too. It's like taking 50 cents on the dollar. It's like Papacino, you got to understand, like the league determines what your running back value is, right? So having tried to move off these running backs previously, even when they were hot, right? When Ken Walker got like burning hot, there was a time I had Ken Walker on my roster when he was regarded as a top 3 dynasty running back for like 2 weeks. and I couldn't move him. So the league has told me what the value in you said post Ken Walker trade. I'm not trying to lose value on it. Remember, I have Walker and Ibuka in the same tier. Like, I'm okay with the other jargon. I would have done it straight. I would have like given Jakob 5 fab to his give me a little something. But like these other guys, like Corum, maybe he gets to play. Benson, if Connor goes, like, I'm not gonna take a couple thirds for a Trey Benson if James Conner gets down. Like, I'm going to be, very attached to quote what the market was, but I don't mind losing a little bit if again, I don't have to win every trade, right? I want to make the best decisions that I can to make progress, which is something that is not often enough discussed in these. So I think it's a good start. I think that there is some things here with these wide receivers that maybe we can move. And, am I going to aggressively sell to get the 26-101? I don't think my team is there. Trust me, there is a team way worse than mine already with the 26-101 confidently locked up.
For reference, by the way, first thing I did, we'll see. I'll let you know if this gets accepted on air. Probably won't, or countered. But I sent Jahmyr Gibbs and Bo Nix for Jamar Chase and Justin Fields was my next move after this. So
I don't think that one's getting. I have to immediately go and check who has them. Oh, you're not. No, that's not going to happen. You sent them. You sent that to one of the biggest Bo Nix haters on
really?
planet Earth and Dynasty Coach A. Yeah. Even though he puts up fantasy points, he still asks. It's the Lamar Jackson debate, apparently. But
that's
anyway.
how I feel. So this is like the fact that I even have Bo Nix on this team is a minor miracle. I've been trying to trade him away ever since I drafted him. And then he just keeps getting more valuable after I fail. I got him at the 206, by the way, pre-rookie draft. So
yeah, that is a league where we do pre-rookie draft, pre-NFL draft, rookie draft. I'm finding a lot of people that don't have a process. They only want to win the deal, get the best player. Don't comprehend that sometimes. And we just did that on air, right? Like, and again, someone mentioned in the chat, like, they appreciated seeing bad rosters. That's why we did this. Like, anyone can show off their roster baiting level. Me and Ryan could have just displayed the absolute show and clinic we put on in the last startup we did last week. I could have used that. Just, hashtag always look good. But this is the reality of fantasy. Sometimes you have to get deep in the weeds. So that's that team. Keep in mind, I had all my own picks as well. So we'll see how the rest of it shapes out. Maybe. And another thing people don't talk about enough is sometimes in a league, that kind of trade can get some other things going, right? Sometimes it takes one deal that kind of sets the tone for everything else. So we're going to take a quick break. This is this roster. Shout out to the chat. We helped to get that done. Shout out to the moderators. Hashtag Devy's not real. When we come back, we are going to dive into Ryan's roster. But before we do that, we do have to take another quick break. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we have Ryan's roster, but before we do that, I have to remind everybody, of course, your merch. It can be purchased right now. Forklift Certified. Make sure you are letting everybody know that your podcast is a tier above the rest, because we know that even though Jakob rolls with the posh in today's society, you too can be a podcast listener of the people with, as Lucas is holding up, Lucas. The my favorite podcast is Forklift Certified t-shirt. You can get that right now at fantasypoints.com right in the shop. The link will be in the description to the podcast and in the video. They're pretty slick. Ryan Heath, you are the first pro quarterback roster of the day that also doesn't feature Kyler Murray, and there are no spelling mistakes. So this definitely is not my roster. Let's break it down.
All right. So first couple things. I see in the chat, Josh Cruz, is it just Heath in Tight End University? No, that is not this roster. My Tight End University roster was pretty good last year. Probably going to tear it down this year. We'll see. But no, this is an orphan that I took over last offseason. The reason it looks like this is that it's hosted on MFL, and I hate opening MFL. And I just was like, you know what? I saw this roster pre last season, was like, I could let this ride. It didn't have any of its 2025 picks, so not a whole lot of incentive to me to just jump into a new league and start completely tearing it down. A roster that I thought was reasonably likely to succeed pre last year, but this one died on me pretty quickly, as you can see. Really like Cooper Kupp really just made this one super dead. But yeah, it's a lot of value caught in quarterback. So it's Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, and then a bunch of guys that don't matter. At running back, it's kind of weirdly in between. It's Alvin Kamara, Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet, Austin Eckler, and a bunch of guys that don't matter. At wide receiver, it's Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, and then a bunch of guys that don't matter. Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, some nightmare fuel there. At tight end, it's Dallas Goedert, Noah Fant, Luke Schoonmaker, and Taysom Hill. The roster does, going forward, starting in 2026, have all of its own picks. So yeah, I'm kind of ready to start making some moves here and flip this into like a roster that is actually going somewhere, hopefully. So interested to hear your guys' thoughts.
Man, I wish that this was best ball scoring for that running back room, just accumulating 12 point spikes. Also, how do you know that this is on MFL and Ryan doesn't check it very often? Because Chase Edmonds is on this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pretty much says it right there.
Izzy Abonaconda. Oh, that one hurts.
I think I did pick up Izzy Abonaconda like during the season when he got signed to to the 49ers or whatever, when they like ran out of running backs. That was me working the waiver wire on MFL.
Yeah, and that can we also just talk about too? Like everyone says, like when I say everyone says, I mostly mean just like content creators, let's say, but it's often discussed in the space if you're consuming content and not broken down enough. People like use the waiver wire when the season comes out. You can just move this player for this, like add this player on waivers every week because you can just move them for this. Most of the time, no. Like you got to be playing in so many leagues for that to be right. The thought process, like the process of making moves like that, seems like, of course, obviously, you should be able to. Guess what? Chances are the rest of your league already knows it. That's why the putting a player on the block when they have a great week, you're like, oh, look, we get it. We just saw in Red Zone that he scored three touchdowns. Like we get it. I'm going to give you the same thing I was going to give you the week before. How about that? Those points don't transfer. It's talked about a lot, but reality check on stuff like that. It can be hard when you got an Izzy Abanikanda, like, oh, hold him until he gets signed. You'll be able to move him to someone. No, not most reasonable, intelligent human beings. No, definitely not.
All right. This is the oldest wide receiver I've ever looked at. Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp.
Man, did Amari Cooper ever just die?
This is a fun one. All right. Let's see here. So, I mean, probably the obvious move. I think what I would try to do is move. Yeah, I think clearly it's like suboptimal unless you have the best roster ever to have Dak Prescott as your third quarterback. That's just like sort of a waste of value store. That being said, I like, especially like if I try to pretend I'm Ryan Heath and I'm just like a robot who only cares about points. Like then I'm keeping Dak Prescott and I'm probably looking at moving Jordan Love and getting a better return.
Yep.
Yeah. And so probably like if the dream trade that I could make on this team would be like Jordan Love for like a like very mid but like mildly cromulent like a starting level running back or wide receiver plus a pick, probably so that I could like almost play it both ways, where it's like if I could do Jordan Love for like I don't know, like let's say like a Cortland Sutton or something plus the commensurate pick value to fill that out, the value difference, then you're almost like okay either way, where you improve your roster near term and give yourself an out to compete while you have all these old guys, but you're also adding future value at the same time, and then you could potentially sell your pieces off mid-season. Or I think it's like legitimately justifiable if you wanted to just sell like everything old off this roster and full detonate, but I don't think you necessarily have to. There's enough here I could see you competing this year.
Okay.
I agree.
I'll let everyone else go before I give my thoughts. Yeah.
I'll say like I am team move whichever quarterback you can get the most out of right now. If it's a tear down from Josh Allen, if it's a move of Jordan Love, you are one stub toe and a really hard sneeze away from this roster being dead no matter. You might as well just push it down the stairs, right? Like we're borderline retirement home already. Just give it the extra fucking down the stairs. And maybe it's time to nuke it entirely. Like, you've got Jordan Love, try to move him. If you can tear down from Josh Allen to one of those Brock Purdy's with a bunch of pluses, or the JJ McCarthy's and a ton of pluses, or just tear away, because I'm sorry, this roster is not competing while Josh Allen is in the NFL still, probably, or at least in his like upper tier. Like chances are, right? You're the only difference between how bad my roster was previously and this one is 3 quarterbacks, right? Because outside of that, like, it's old. It's just old. I mean, Waddle is nice. Like, let's be real. Waddle is super nice. But like a Kamara, Adams, Cup, Cooper is, I can see why this team was good when it was, but I don't mind just absolutely tearing down from 2 quarterbacks and then completely getting rid of one.
What would be like what kind of return would make sense for Josh Allen if it was possible to get? The issue is like it's just so hard to actually get the commensurate value with Josh Allen. Because it's almost a double trap where like Allen and Lamar and Jaden and those guys are like worth everything that they're worth. But like it's so hard to get an adequate return for them, because how many teams have like almost the only teams that are in a position to actually trade for those guys, and it makes sense, is like a team that is coming out of a rebuild where they like are flush with a ton of assets. They need to consolidate, and they have that ability to like add 2 firsts plus a young receiver plus something else like to actually get a Josh Allen. But like for the most part, like most of these teams we've discussed today, like are not in a position to be like, I'll trade 3.5, 4 firsts for a value for Josh Allen and then still have a team that's resembling competitiveness.
Yeah. So I will help you out here. There is a team in this. All right, so the roster you just described coming out of a rebuild has a million young players. Scott Barrett is in this league, and that is how Scott Barrett loves to play Dynasty.
Okay. Tell me Scott's roster. Let's do this.
So Scott's roster at QB, it's Bryce Young, and then no other starting QBs for QB2.
Sounds like his roster.
It's Mac Jones, Deshaun Watson, Zach Wilson, if anyone's curious.
Super encouraging. Then needs Josh. Great.
At running back, he has Christian McCaffrey and Omarion Hampton plus Najee, and then not really anything after that, but a lot of running back points. At wide receiver, he has Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Rome, Debo, Cortland Sutton, a lot of wide receivers, like big young wide receivers and point scoring ones.
Scott's ready for a push here.
His weakest spot is probably tight end. He has like a million really trash ones, but he has Hunter Henry plus Colston Loveland, which is probably startable tight end production this year.
All right. And what picks has he got? I'm assuming a lot.
I think it's just all his own picks. I can double check right now, but when yes, he just has all his own picks. So not like a bunch of picks, but a lot of young wide receivers that I think could be worth breaking Josh Allen up into potentially.
So I think my first offer would be something like Allen. I mean, you probably want to talk to him and know how he feels, but like if I was just pretending he was like a blind CPU that you can't speak to, I would be trying to do like his 26-1, his 27-1, Loveland, Puka for Josh, Goddard, and Adams, something like that. Is like, I'm trying to think if like so it's like if we got, trying to think of how I'd break this all down. So Puka to me is worth like 2 to 2.5. Josh Allen to me is worth like 3.5 to 4. So we get Puka plus the 2 picks, gets us up into like 4 plus Love, and we're at about 5. Josh takes care of most of that. Plus Goddard gives him a cromulent tight end back for this year, plus Adams. I think you're winning that deal, but that'd probably be my opening offer.
That's a pretty strong offer.
That's a strong first offer. Big Diaz says, bingo, find your trade partner. Get him on the phone. Ryan, call Scott and put him on speaker. And
let's do that.
Oh, man.
I'm sure he would love that. He would not, by the way.
Yeah,
he would not love that.
Not amused, probably, if
No.
I called Scott at 11. It is 11:10 Eastern Standard Time. I think Scott's in Central, but
I thought he was in Texas.
Yeah, Scott's in Central, I believe, but yeah, it's
he would not approve of that.
I'm not calling my boss at 10 p.m. in the off season on a Tuesday night.
He just doesn't want it. He doesn't want it bad enough, chat. Let's just be real.
To the grind.
But I do like the deal there, Jacob. This is I guess earlier in the show I was poo-pooing on like, oh, just keep adding guys. Just adding guys does kind of like solve all my problems here, so I kind of like it. Some of the stuff I had written down pre-show was more like Josh for like Puka and picks or something, like just smaller constructions of this. But yeah, I mean I like this a lot. It just kind of in one fell swoop
maybe you add Kamara
give this roster some direction.
Now look,
basically, I'm just trying to think of like, it's Josh for Puka and picks is the core, but I'm just thinking like, if you're already able to get on the world of Josh for Puka and picks, is there a way you can also dump Adams and Kamara into that mix, who he's already going all in, get him 2 more point scores, and then add a little bit of extra picks or youth on top? That'd be what I would try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Is he co-managed with this one? I'm assuming he is a co-manager in this.
He doesn't, apparently. This is
an all Scott.
Very old classic Scott Barrett league back when he played Dynasty for himself. So
yeah. Okay, I vibe with that. Now I know it's going to take you the rest of the show to find how to trade all these guys because it's on MFL and their platform is brutal.
That's true.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to make waves with fantasy platforms anymore after my last tiff with Sleeper. So I have been informed I need to dial it back. So that'll be the only one. And that'll be the last one.
So I just want to make sure I entered it in properly with MFL. So let me read this off again. So it's Josh Allen, Devontae Adams, Dallas Goedert for the 26 and the 27 first, Colston Loveland, and Puka Nacua is what we settled on, I think.
Send him Kamara.
Just add Kamara to it. Yeah.
Put it over.
Kamara. Fold him in.
Why not? Yeah.
Just fold it in.
Not like I think actually like kind of likes guys like Kamara too, if I recall.
Yeah.
Sleeper is my favorite platform. It is my favorite platform simply because the communication system is great. Everything that you need, unless you play on desktop, which again, I'm not going to get started on that because I will be here for an extra hour and I will get fired over trashing them and their desktop platform. But everything you need is like kind of 3 clicks away. Whereas a lot of other fantasy platforms, you have to like navigate separate. Like there's a draft board menu and then there's like a draft player menu. And like everything is just kind of consolidated in there. Their draft boards are easy to read. So I prefer Sleeper. If you're like, oh, but they have stupid mascot, turn them off. Right? Oh, they have stupid sound, turn it off. Right? Like you do have that option as well. It's not as like customizable, so it's looked down upon in the hashtag not real world of Devy fantasy football, but like I get that it's not the best for like customization and stuff, but I mean, I play start 10 tight end premium super flex leagues. Done. That's all I need, and I'm happy. I live comfortably with that. So Sleeper is my platform. Pappuccino has a great question here. When making trades like this to a super high value team, are you considering these base ones or late ones? That is a great question. They're still base because we don't know what's going to happen in terms of a fantasy season. Anything can happen, so they're base. But I'm in this
but I'm putting
regard.
a bit of a tax on the.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is what I've just determined we're gonna do, since I just put this into keep trade cut just to be obnoxious and know what it is. It shows fair trade whether Kamara's in it or not. So just a rule of thumb, I'm gonna not send it with Kamara the first time. If he asks for him, I will just immediately do it because it doesn't matter at all.
Okay, I like that strategy.
After we just made fun of like the opening offer earlier in the show, I am 100% going to do it because it's got.
This is like
that's
also like
an opening
90% of your final offer. This is like you're not sending an opening offer as in like, would you do a 26-second for Drake London and then being like, oh, you need more? Like this is like an actual offer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna send you like Leggett and 2 seconds for Rice. Here's a starter. No, I'm responding to you with very mean memes that I have created specifically to send to people who send me those. So that's not that. This is like a legit could get accepted offer off the shot. And then John Paul Taylor wants you to screenshot the keep trade cut value and send it to Scott.
Yeah.
When he says if he says no,
I will DM it to him on Twitter immediately live on air if he does reject it.
And they want updates. We will update you on all of our trades and all of these rosters. It could be a fun thing where we look back on these exact rosters in 2 months and see where we're at and see what's happened. I actually kind of like that. And Papacino says you should also follow up the screenshot with "you up," which
nice.
Phenomenal.
Although you can't use the YOU. You just got to use the letter U. You up.
Yeah, you have to. You absolutely have. This is great. I feel like this type of deal really kicks off what you are trying to do, and I think the next step would just be the Cooper Cups. Just Cooper Cup, because like Amari Cooper, everyone else is dead on this roster. But then even after that, I am seriously considering moving one of the other quarterbacks in a tier down. If you can tier down from Jordan Love and get another pick, etc. Those type of moves. Classic, who can I get with a plus? Classic tier down. Ryan's least favorite thing to hear come out of my mouth when we do shows like this. But unfortunately for you, in this case, that's what you need to do. We do have one more roster that somebody said it earlier. They said they need to see the forever rebuilder. So Lucas, you're up. Another Josh Allen. We had 2 Kyler Murrays. We got 2 Josh Allens. This is insane. What a run.
All
right. Run it through, Lucas.
So this is a team that's just always been bad. I'll put it that way. I think this is the second year of this team, just based off of how I typically draft, and I don't pick up many Puka Nakuas. So I was looking at it, and so we have Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford as the top 2 quarterbacks within Devon Achane, and a whole heck of a lot of RB2s, not fantasy RB2s on their own teams. But then Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors as my stud wide receivers with Jacoby Myers, and then a lot of long shots. And I have George Kittle sitting at tight end with the extra picks being 2 extra seconds, one in 2026, one in 2027, and an extra 4th in 2026. In the draft, it did not go at all the way I was hoping it would. So this team looked a whole lot different than I originally thought it would be. I was sitting at 104, really hoping that somehow either Travis Hunter or Omarion Hampton would fall. They didn't. And so I was debating between Cam Ward and Tet McMillan. And at the time, George Kittle was not on my roster. So I was looking at this as Cam Ward gives me a little bit more flexibility to potentially sell Matthew Stafford or to make a higher upside play and move Cam Ward later on in the season if things are turning out well. Then I got an offer for George Kittle, and I think it was the 111 for my 107. And I took that, which that eventually became Quinshon Judkins. And then I took Colson Loveland. And then it was taking some dart throws. Picked up Cam Scaboo just because my running backs were just so bad. Luther Burden fell a little bit, so scooped him up. And then I took Tyler Shuck in the 3rd round just because I'm thinking somebody who's potentially starting games this year. I don't know if he's going to be good, but I always want to add quarterbacks that are going to start games if they only cost a 3rd. So I'm looking at this as it's a team that is getting really, really close to being ready to compete for something. I think I'd like to be a little bit stronger at wide receiver, and then I can limp along at running back. But it would be really nice to be better. And yes, John, this is mostly strangers. So I've been making some moves in that one too. I don't even know how many trades I've been making. Most of them have been involving draft picks. But yeah, I've been making some moves in that league.
Yeah, I think this one is the clearest path to me I've seen. This team should absolutely be trying to win this year, in my opinion. And so you have the piece of the puzzle, like Puka, Neighbors, Achane, Josh Allen. And I actually like keeping Kittle and Loveland together because you have the built-in succession plan plus an elite option this year. That's like the framework. Myers is a totally fine flex. Between the mix of guys like Jalen Warren plus like a Cam Scatabo, like it's very easy to see how you can piece together Warren being like a fine RB2 for the first month, and then you have upside for the rest of the year after that on your bench. Yeah, I totally agree. Like really, you just need 1 to 2 more legit wide receivers to surround Myers in your flex after the elite Puka and Neighbors. And so like the first path, and I don't know how necessarily successful this will be, but if you could find some way to package up like these extra 2s plus like whatever value you can squeeze out of Keon Coleman, Jalen McMillan, Rashad Bateman, if anything, plus 1 of Stafford or Shuck, and find a way to finagle that into like a Cortland Sutton type plus like another wide receiver or maybe even an actually pretty good wide receiver, that's like 100% what I'd be trying to do.
So I'm learning here from the discussions because Cortland Sutton's come up a lot. I got him way cheaper than I think he's supposed to be going for a different league, and that's really altered my view of him.
I'm not saying all of those pieces for Sutton. I'm saying like I want 2 wide receivers. Like I'm just like I don't know. I'm saying like these are the assets I would move in some combination. I wouldn't pay 2 seconds plus guys for Sutton. But.
Does it make sense to take like a risk on say a oh my gosh, my brain just completely farted here. Holy cow. But like maybe a Ridley type or looking at maybe a Chris Godwin coming off the injury, would that make sense there as adding somebody?
I think
that,
Ridley
or
makes sense. Ridley is like the same as Sutton. I don't love Godwin just because he's not going to start right away and you kind of need points right away. But I think it's totally fine to look at him. Someone in the chat was saying move Luther Burden. I'm not against that in theory. I just like that would be my last resort because I look at a lot of these guys as like not having a lot of upside. Like I don't really like McMillan, Coleman. These guys don't really scare me moving. So like to me, it's like if I could bundle up the stuff that looks just like forever bench pieces and then aim a little bit lower, then I think that to me is like a preferable option. And then Burden stays in as like a real path for growth for this team as like, how does this team become a super team? Well, it's Luther Burden becomes a superstar. And then he becomes your 3rd star receiver next to Puka and Malik. That's what I would try to do. That's why I was like, I was very hesitant on moving Ibuka in that last league because I viewed it as like, how do I get a path to getting a 3rd legit long-term wide receiver? It's Ibuka, and then you feel like you can only play that card once. So yeah, I would be looking more at the Sutton Ridley range and moving the lower end pieces. But I think maybe, who knows? Like certainly if you bundle all this together and you could try to get like maybe like an attainable younger option that is not very sexy right now, like an Olave or a Waddle, that would also be of a lot of interest to me. I just don't know like how interested teams with those assets are trading them for like 2 seconds and a couple of like kind of shitty bench players. Like I don't know if that is as appealing.
Your biggest trade ticket there is Cam Ward, in my opinion. But then it gets into like, are you rolling the dice next year with Stafford as the immediate?
I just wouldn't want to leave myself with a quarterback room of Josh Allen, Matt Stafford.
I know.
I'm not saying I wouldn't trade Cam Ward, but that's just like that would scare me because you're going from a team that has a lot of strength in the quarterback room to then a team that might have 0 2026 or 1 2026 quarterback starter.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I went with Cam Ward too over Tet. One, like I thought that this team, before I started making some other moves, adding Tet to it wasn't going to solve my issues there. Like it would have been nice, would have solved everything. But I thought Cam really gave me a lot more flexibility to be able to make moves. And I feel like if you can move quarterbacks, that does offer you up more options to try to either tear up or tear down. Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. I'm in this league, so I'm like going and looking, and someone just said Keon should net you a Sutton, and I went and saw what you traded to get Cortland Sutton, and I'm not going to say it. You can, or Keon Coleman. I'm not going to say it. You can say it if you want to say it. But I won't do that.
Now I have to go look because I don't even remember what I did to get Keon Coleman.
Yeah, I mean Keon to me is like a pure like theoretical value to me.
Yeah,
like,
Jason.
Why did I do that?
Hashtag
when did I do that?
What did you do?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm going to say it now. On August 30th, 2024, he traded T. Higgins for Marshawn Lloyd and Keon Coleman.
What'd I do? God. Oh gosh.
The fact that if only, Lucas, this team needs a T. Higgins.
It does.
It needs.
If only you could take Keon Coleman and Marshawn Lloyd and trade him for T. Higgins.
The problem is
thinking?
He's now residing on Andy Buckler's roster, which means you will pry him from his cold dead hands.
It's okay. I got Colson Loveland and George Kittle from him for Quinshon Judkins. I feel okay with that. So
okay. Shots fired.
Can we? Yeah. So I like what Jacob's been saying, but maybe like an alternate way to go at this. Can we do like Cam Ward and George Kittle to get up to like a receiver that we actually really like I don't know, like a Rashee Rice or a T. Higgins plus like a less sexy quarterback coming back? What if you moved
Cam Ward for Tet McMillan? Wouldn't that be nice? This is why I didn't go to the Cam Ward thing. Is like I would like rather be like rotting in jail for life than take Cam Ward out of Tet McMillan in a rookie draft. But like, once Lucas has made that bet, then I feel like you've kind of made the bet on Cam Ward. So like, I'm not going to be like unspool the thread, if that makes sense.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I don't like it. If you want to compete, you can get down from Cam Ward to like a Geno or like a Dak or something and squeeze a little value out of there. Plus Kittle maybe gets you like a good receiver, but
this is off brand for me. I don't know if this is available. But like one quarterback that I actually really like targeting on certain teams like this, and Tom's gonna like do a 360 this chair when I say this, but is Tua, because like he is like he's just gonna he's not.
Oh my god! You should offer Tet. Offer Cam Ward for Tet. I just looked at who has Tet. Just send it. Add a third if you have to. I don't care. The guy that has Tet has Milroe, Geno, and AR.
Well, I have to see who that is.
Could you get Tet? Let's like
what happened in this rookie draft? Hang on, did I miss how you ended up with Cam Ward and not Tet in this?
I was at 104,
Cam Ward instead of
and I took Cam Ward.
I see,
but also
I brained the draft.
So yeah, I wasn't anticipating
poking around with it.
I wasn't anticipating getting Kittle. I wasn't anticipating Colson Loveland falling to where he did, and so that started to change things a little bit.
I do think like that. The thing with the Tua that I like is he's like, I understand the fear of trading for like a Geno, especially for you, because I'm trying to like think about this from your perspective. Like I would say like Tom is the most comfortable. I'm not maybe as comfortable as Tom, but I'm probably like certainly more comfortable than you with playing a bit of a high wire act at the quarterback position. But like Tua is someone to me where he's like not sexy, he's pretty cheap, but like barring like concussion-based retirement, like I don't see a reason why he's not an NFL starter for someone for the next 5 to 8 years. And like he's still as like significantly cheaper, I think, because he's just like the sheen is worn off than several other quarterbacks who I think project to score similar amounts of points to him over the next several years. And if there was like some way to do like a Ward for Tua, and then you also get a receiver, and then you're kind of in the same exact position roster wise, but just with an extra receiver, that's like would be interesting to me. If the idea of like Matt Stafford is my quarterback 2, and I don't know who my quarterback 2 is next year is like very scary to you.
Kinley has Tua, and he's a tweener team, so that one might be tough.
Okay. Yeah,
But
Papacino. My reason for the Tua
I get what
thing
you're
is
saying.
I just don't know if Stafford's going to play football in 2026. And so like I totally get the fear of I trade Cam Ward for no quarterback back, and then I have like my roster is solved for 1 year, and then next year I'm sitting there with the 110, no quarterback too, because Stafford is retired and Tyler Shuck is as bad as everyone thinks he is, and that's like I get why that's an unenviable position. I think that's like I still probably would have just taken Tap, but I totally get why that's a position you don't want to be in.
Yeah. Great. So it sounds like the best path to improvement. If I can't come up with an offer for involving like the Keon Coleman's, Rashad Bateman's, Jalen McMillan's, and some of the picks I have to, move into a starting tier wide receiver would be to be tearing down at quarterback or just moving a third quarterback if I have them over and trying to do something that way.
I'm telling you, you offer that for Tet.
And I would say, like, this is the first team I've seen that I actually think it's not that bad of an idea to move your first. Because you have value on this team. Mm-hmm. So if you want the long-term security with, like, a Cam Ward, and you're not able to bundle up the shit, as I would call it, with all due respect to Keon Coleman, to, like, get a difference maker, like, maybe you do just see what you could fetch with the 26-1 and get a real difference-making wide receiver. I think that's not that crazy.
Why don't you try like Cam Ward and Keon Coleman and just try to get Tet and like anything else back with the pulse?
Tet and Gino?
Well, you're not going to get Gino off of him with adding Coleman. That's not going to happen because he needs. The reason I'm saying to send that deal is because he needs a quarterback. He has AR and Gino.
That's why I was kind of saying, like,
what if you added AR and
package Kittle,
that gives you another out to a
get a
2026
QB back.
quarterback. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
He's not going to
start Loveland this year.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I mean,
I think Loveland.
Tom, your team needs a quarterback.
Defensible tight end production.
Yeah, trying to trade a quarterback to Tom is not a fun.
Hey, Matthew Stafford sits perfect quarterback. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't have one to send back to you, but if you hey, my team needs it. I can deal for a little Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I just don't know who I would be going for from your team, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you could move Stafford straight up for someone of note, that
I was on. Could I do Stafford and somehow get Kamara in JMO
and Jamison Williams? You're out of your skull.
I know I need something else. Yeah.
What's you got to add? You got extra seconds. You got your first. Like, what can we do here, Tom? Let's mediate.
Let's mediate. I don't know what I want to do with the roster yet. Is the problem?
Yeah, I'm looking at his roster, and it's not bad.
I've got
it just needs a direction.
Here's the problem. Okay, this is when Jakob says it's really a nightmare to deal quarterbacks to me, he's not lying because I'm looking at two potential starting quarterbacks in Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. And if either one of those signs and or gets traded, I don't need to make a trade.
The way that all of us, like this is the difference, is like the way that all of us would see a quarterback room that like is entirely reliant on Aaron Rodgers is like with horror. But Tom sees that, he's like, thank God, like I haven't wasted any value on my quarterback room. Like I have exactly what I need. Like he's thrilled to be in that position.
I'm playing roulette, right?
Like a Tom Tipple quarterback room of like I don't even know who you have, but like if I'm trying to think of the quintessential Tom Tipple quarterback room, it would be like Kyler Murray, because you always have Kyler Murray, plus Aaron Rodgers and Shadur Sanders, and you're like, this is living.
It's close. This one's JJ McCarthy, Kirk Cousins, Joe Flacco, and Aaron Rodgers.
yeah.
Don't forget Drew Lock.
21 black. Let's go. I'm
like
firing that.
Exactly.
I'm cashing my paycheck and I'm going to play roulette with these quarterbacks.
Tipple's doing like the what's from Uncut Gems where he's doing like the "This is how I win."
See, this is how I win. Yeah, I'm currently gambling Garnett's ring. That's what I'm doing with Uncut Gems. But that's I'm hesitant to move because I don't know yet. I'm not going to do. But I'm also not the I will make a move and send away assets to get a legit quarterback when I have to. I just don't have to yet in May. That's the thing. So that's why that one may not. I may not be your guy. But I'm telling you, send Cam Ward on air.
So could I send Cam Ward for Tua Tagovailoa and Brandon Ayuk? Is
I have
that
no idea. I don't roster. I don't own that team, but I think that's like a reasonable offer.
I think you'd have to add
fluff it
some
up. I'd add
sauce.
something. I would add something else just to make it seem a little better. I would like add something like Jalen McMillan or whatever, and just see what happens.
Yeah, add McMillan and Coleman. Like get those two off the roster and try to get
like
something.
a psychology thing, but I think that there's like a diminishing returns element where like the more shitty pieces you start to add to a deal, you like are basically tacitly admitting that they're worthless. So I would.
It becomes transparent. Yeah, this is why I hate like the offer that never ends.
But to me, like you're better off picking one of McMillan or Coleman because then you're at least representing that they're of value to you. If you send an offer that features like McMillan and Coleman and DeMario Douglas, then everybody's like, I know what you're up to. Like, whereas you send one. And then maybe they like that player, or maybe they don't. But maybe they're like, actually, I like Coleman more than McMillan, or something like that. Like that to me is like of a little bit more interest than just packaging a bunch of dog shit together and hoping.
How bad would it be to offer my first and Keon Coleman for Jalen Waddle and Calvin Ridley? How far off am I?
That's a deal I would actually probably do, but I like Jalen Waddle more than most well-adjusted people.
Yeah, I think that's like you might get. That's a deal where I would be afraid that like people make fun of me. Honestly, I would do it, but I'd be a little afraid someone's like, "Oh, Jalen Waddle, why do you want him?" Like, I think that's a great deal, is what I'm really saying.
Yeah, okay. And I can see it from both sides too, right? Like I know who holds those players, and I get it, but yeah, again, both take a little bit of risk, but I think that's fair. I think those are your two options.
Send it a trade.
Okay, we have to at least send one trade on each team before we wrap it up at 2 hours for this portion of the podcast. The Dynasty Q&A, we might that might get moved. That might get moved at 2 hours. Yeah. So,
can I what if I rapid fire answer everything in 10 seconds right now?
Oh, I like that. We'll do that for Dynasty Q&A. Jakob Sanderson is going to rapid fire your questions. And I'm gonna say he gets through one of them that way, and then he finds a topic that he likes, and he goes on a 5-minute aside.
No, I'm putting myself on the timer. I'm finishing before we hit the 2 hour mark. We're at 1:56:37.
Okay, so that's it. That's it for that portion. We're gonna move into the Dynasty Q&A. So I'm gonna hit a button so I can switch some stuff around. Oh, I almost got there. That one was a little too short. Pause.
I'm in the stars. Go Jin says, how do you feel about elite athletes like Rashad White and Jaden Reed, but who are in offenses that don't play to their strengths? Are these permanent stayaways or absolute buys? I think the framing of this as elite athletes is odd. I think Rashad White has elite tested athleticism that's never translated to the field. Obviously, I like Jaden Reed. Nobody else does. Everybody else is right. I'm wrong. I'm just pot committed. I do think generally, if you think a player is far more talented than their situation, I usually am buying those players. I don't know if that necessarily coincides with elite athleticism. Should Fab be allowed in dynasty trades or any trade? Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will I make fun of you if you offer me like Fab for something of value? Yes. After finishing a rookie draft, what's your process on deciding cuts or potential trades to cut on your roster? I'm 5 guys over. Just embrace cutting shitty players from your roster. It feels really good.
Just cut them. They're not going to matter. You're not going to make a wrong decision.
You. Like the loss in social capital that you'll experience from trying to grind fourths out of Traylon Burks is going to be more detrimental than just cutting the players.
It just happened to me. Someone tried to send me Keaton Mitchell like 3 separate times for a fourth, and I just watched him get dropped. Don't do that.
You're just going to burn social capital. Rate my draft: 12-man half-point PPR, tight end plus superflex, Genty, T-Mac, Henderson, Milrow, Ollie Gordon, Restrepo. Impossible for me to rate your draft without knowing where you picked from, but
we'll call it
sounds
good.
Like you had 3 firsts and you made 3 great picks. So pending/A. Send offers to the orphan every time. They didn't take over the team to be boring and do nothing. 100%. Every time there's an orphan in your league, you should definitely send them offers. The best part is they're not attached to the players. You have no idea. They might hate half the players on their roster.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Thomas. Oh,
we'll get rid of that one.
If I have a juggernaut, young and most productive by 10, 15 points, I send 3 firsts for CD, 2 of mine, 1 on the playoff team. I would definitely send 3 firsts of value for CD if I'm that rich, because I love consolidating. I would try to not send only picks. I would try to use players off your bench that are like what would start on other teams, but ultimately my answer would be yes. 10 team, full PPR, 1 quarterback, start 9. trade away Chuba 27-1 and third for Chase Brown and DJ Moore. No thanks for me. I would keep my 27 first. It's gonna be a really good class, and I think Chuba and Chase Brown project not that meaningfully differently. I wouldn't send a 27-1 for DJ Moore.
Agreed.
Somebody was trying to get a 26 first for Fields in a Superflex. Sends me a screenshot of Fields. That's bad pick, best ball. Never mind, Dynasty. The screenshot thing is annoying. Very funny. How much more would I need on top of 1-4 and 1-9 to move Garrett Wilson and Waddle, fellas? I wouldn't need much, actually. I have 1-4. All of the options at 1-4 are valued the same tier, but ahead of Garrett Wilson. And 1-9 for Waddle is probably pretty decent value on him. I would try to get a second, but I think it's fair as is. 4 seconds spare.
Wow. Not bad.
That was impressive.
They love social. They love the social capital. I love that. The Jaden Reed stuff. It's interesting. Really, when the agent has to come out and make sure everyone knows that Jaden Reed is the wide receiver one. You know.
I'm not going to defend my stance on Jaden Reed.
I understand.
Private.
I know you're a reasonable person. That's going to do it for the audio version.
Like if you're into like some weird sex stuff that like no one needs to know about, it's just that's between me and my rosters. This is how I feel about Jaden Reed. Like in my closet, there's just like some like
Jaden Reed is
handcuffs and like a cum soaked stuffed animal and Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed is Jacob's dominatrix confirmed.
I was on a date last night, and she was like, "Don't you ever get worried that you'll say something inappropriate on YouTube, and then it's like on there forever?" And I was like, "No, I do my best work live." And then after I've just said this, I have reflected that maybe I do say something. Also, that was pretty funny. So no regrets.
Pappuccino wants to know important time situation. We're talking about hair products. What are Tom? And this is natural, baby. This is my natural flow. I do use a nice Pro Shine pomade that I can post in the Discord if people are interested.
I want to answer the hair question. Sorry, Tom.
Go ahead.
When my hair is shorter than this, I use like a sea salt spray. So like if it's not really long enough to shape, just like a sea salt spray gives it just a bit of texture on the top. Right about now, where it's like got a little bit of length, I switch over to the Layrite Cement. It's kind of like a pomade, but it's just like white and goes right in. Looks like there's nothing in your hair. Lets you comb it how you want. It's great stuff. You can order it.
Pomades. Pomades over gels, and like we should have already made that switch a while ago. That's gonna do it.
Can't say enough good things about sea salt spray. This is sheer revival sea salt spray. It's just a great move for the summer. Get that natural flow going.
Flowing locks.
Perfect.
Mine is called Receding Hairline. Is a fantastic product. Complemented well by a hat.
Yeah, a good hat selection is necessary.
Yeah, but you're married, so that's the right time to receive.
Yeah, okay, so we're okay there. But
yeah,
if Fantasy Points need somebody to complement their hats with their receding hairline,
what's the over-under
for
amount of our listeners who change Jaden Reed's sleeper nickname to Cum Soaked Stuffed Animal? Like
John Atlas already has it up in the chat here. Insane comment and sentence that I didn't ever expect here.
Do I sound like Will Ferrell? Is that true? I don't think so.
Not that much. Not really.
Where'd you
John
get
Paul
that?
Taylor in the chat. John Paul Taylor in the chat says, "How old is Ryan? He looks like Kevin McAllister, but sounds like Will Ferrell."
Oh, that's just a phenomenal.
You do look like Kevin McAllister. That's true. I've never thought of you as sounding like Will Ferrell, but you don't look anything like Will Ferrell, so it's hard for me to like separate the voice and the
Agreed.
face.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you entirely with my eyes closed next time.
Yeah, just close your eyes.
Okay.
Tell me if you hear Will Ferrell.
Okay, look. That's going to do it for the audio portion of the podcast. If you want 5 for 5, you want to be able to hear 5 for 5, you need to go to YouTube. It is the best game in fantasy football. Much love to you for listening all the way up to this point. We love and appreciate you. Everyone on YouTube, lock in and get ready because it's payback time. We're diving in to the best game in fantasy football, period. It's 5 for 5. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. What the real question is over under how many customer support tickets am I going to get for the sentence mentioning that it's crude? I'm going to say at least
I mean,
one.
I don't know. We don't do this show live, so you can always edit it out.
Yeah, you're right. We just upload it after.
Scott Bear's going to demand a full 2-minute delay on future recordings.
Here's the thing. If you listen for 2 hours, okay, first off, if you've listened for 2 hours, you're not a first-time watcher of Dynasty Points. Let's be real. Second off, if you are surprised by super random things said at the 2-hour mark of a Dynasty podcast at the end of May, I mean, you're a bigger degenerate than we are. Let's be real, because we are, and I'll always say this, we stand out a little bit on the Fantasy Points banner just because we're the show's built a little different.
Boundary pushers.
We're boundary pushers. But that's what got us here, damn it, and we're not changing. Speaking of what got us here, 5 for 5 has gotten us into this position.
What a segment.
The hostility, the animosity, the accusations have been live firing. I unfortunately had to update the graphic as Lucas has too, but it is under review as cheating. Ryan Heath, of course, nearing another crash out, even though the game has not started yet. And I
crashed out pre-show this time. We're all set. I got my crash out for the day.
We're getting closer and closer to all 4 other contestants combined matching Tom. Or 3, I guess.
Correct.
So it's 6.
That's right. You tell them.
Everybody else, if you consider them to be playing on a team. All right. Today's 5 for 5. Here's the theme. I don't look. Sometimes there's no like rhyme or reason to it, but every player's either first or last name. I've
been laughing at this chat message for the last 10 seconds.
Thank you.
Dynasty Points is here to just boost Jakob's social standing in his love life. That's why Dynasty Points really exists.
Yeah,
dude. The way I tell every person I ever meet to never look me up on YouTube so fast. Like
I think I'm fucking funny. I think people should look me up. I think I'm more charismatic by camera than I am in person by far. I'm like considerably more socially awkward without this webcam. So anyway, this is my best self, if you can believe that.
We bring up the best in people.
Anyway, today's theme 5 for 5. Again, there's really no reason for this, but I picked like 2 guys and I noticed a pattern, so then I made it a theme. All 5 players, their first name or their last name is a geographical location. Specifically, it's a city. It's also the name of a city. And I have something a little special in store and a little complicated for the 5th one. And the end result is that it's going to be up to triple points for the 5th one based on how I've set it up instead of our usual double points. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Rules for 5 for 5 are the same as they always are. Just up to 5 clues. You get 5 points if you get on the first one. Descending order from there. The chat loses ties. So they have to get it a full round before any of the other people. And if you're in the chat, very important, you get 3 guesses cumulatively per clue. You also only get 1 guess per person per clue. So if it's your second guess or it's the chat's 4th guess on a clue, that will slide over to the next one if you are correct. So keep that in mind. All right. First player. The city to which this player is named after is estimated to have originated in the 1st millennium BC and is one of the oldest cities in the world.
Is there any
5 for 5 today?
Hold on. Yeah. Is there any like time frame on these players or no?
We played after the 1st century BC for sure.
Okay, gotcha. Oh God, I hope I don't get his name wrong. Is it?
No, it's.
And I hope I'm not thinking of like a baseball player or something.
Okay, Tom guessed Roma Dunze. That's a great guess, but it is incorrect.
Jericho Kochary.
5 points! What a sick ball! That's insane, bro.
Oh man, yeah. And
Holy cow!
I know my Middle Eastern cities that match with NFL
unreal.
names.
Wow!
Shout out Jets legend Jericho Kochary.
We just did 5 for 5 exclusively based on geography.
Oh my God!
Apparently, that's my category. Yeah.
Chat.
Tom, turn off the chat, please.
Oh yeah, yeah. Turn off the chat overlay.
Yeah, but that's
Oh, damn.
amazing,
Oh,
Ryan.
shit.
Holy cow.
I was like, I did
that was-
minimize the chat. What are
I'm
you
gonna
talking
say
about?
I'm gonna say that was the best guess in 5 for 5 history.
That was
easily.
amazing.
Easily.
Yeah,
With
that
that
was
hint,
fucking unreal.
We're
Holy
going
cow.
straight zeros for the rest of this game now.
Oh,
So
you do-
thanks for
so-
giving me my moment, guys. But
Actually,
I've
Ryan,
been here before.
in Ryan Heath's history, he nails like an improbable first question
That was fucking
get,
unreal.
and then, but this is like an insane like this could be the type of play that puts you on a Linsanity run. This is the 3 that Jeremy Lin hit when he came off the bench.
You're jinxing me so hard.
I know,
Stop.
it's
Shut
all-
up.
always
Let's
have
move on to the
Jericho
next
Godfrey.
clue.
It's on purpose.
All right. Okay, this clue will give you a hint to both this player's first and last name. It is approximately 2,253 of these from Vancouver to this destination.
Miles Austin.
5 points.
Holy shit.
Ryan
What is
cooking.
happening? We're gonna need quintuplet points at the end to have a chance. This is
Oh
This will be the
god.
only time we ever do a geography-based 5 for 5, but Ryan is really taking advantage of his.
I was
Wait a
thinking
minute. Hold on.
kilometers.
Hold on. How many miles?
That was what I looked up.
2200 or something, right? Is what you
Okay.
said.
All right. I
Yeah.
heard 253 for a second. I was about
No,
to
no.
say, oh my gosh, but okay. No,
I'm not even
That's on me.
2,253.
Okay,
2,253.
that's still absurd.
Macho Man, I'm not even tilted. This is I'm amazed.
Wow.
Because I know he's not cheating. Like, this is insane. This is just
I mean,
off
there'd be
the
no way to
dome.
possibly
Holy
cheat.
Yeah,
No way.
these are not like cheatable questions at all. Yeah.
That was crazy. I'm
All right.
impressed.
This player, in my entirely subjective opinion, is the best no gloves offensive player of the 21st century.
Not getting this one on the first try.
No gloves. The best no gloves player of the 21st century.
So just for a window into how my brain works, those last 2 questions, easy, instant to my mind. Remember the names. I could not tell you a single player that doesn't wear
Chat
gloves.
has already nailed
That's like
it, so
not a
we
thing
need-
I
we
know
need
about
guesses.
players.
Oh
Jack
my
got this on first
gosh.
guess.
Not a thing I remember.
So I'll give you guys 10 seconds. Otherwise, this is going to the chat.
Cat's big insufferable.
I don't know a single player who doesn't use gloves. Oh my god.
So
Also an uncheatable guess. So
Wow.
it's definitely a false output.
let me I'm sorry, my cat is just being an absolute nightmare. 21st century, very misleading. It's I have 2 players and I can only guess one.
Yeah, pick one.
I'll go Dallas Clark.
That's correct. Dallas.
I wanted to say
Texas
Wes
is the
Welker.
city.
Oh.
Well, that's not a geographical location of Wes Welker. So good.
I know
good call of Dallas
that's
Clark.
where it's the
Nice.
only one I could think of. There had to be an Indianapolis Colt in there, so I'm on the board.
Yeah. Feel bad for the chat. They did get that on the first clue.
Dallas.
First guess,
I'm in the game.
but
I'm
Ryan
in the game.
ultimately- Or
Oh
Thomas
my
ultimately gets there with 5 points. So 10 points for Ryan, 5 points
I'm in the game.
for Thomas, 0 points for the chat. I feel a bit bad. I did not expect that the first 2 questions were going to be as easy as they apparently were. I like thought there was a 0% chance that someone would get Jericho Cotchery on clue 1.
Yeah, that was still
be honest.
insane.
That's
I
a
thought I
question
was gonna
five
go-
level.
I thought I was going through all 5 clues on Jericho Cotchery. That was a ridiculous ball. All right. The geographical portion of this player's name is the home of a Big 12 campus.
Thinking of names is hard here.
It's the home of a Big 12 campus, so it may not necessarily. This
I'm
one,
assuming it's not
one I
the name
don't
of
know.
the school. Yeah.
No, it's going to be the
Yeah, I'll
home.
clarify. It's not the name of the school. It is the city where this school's
Yeah.
located.
Mm-hmm.
No, this one I don't know.
Yeah, gonna need another
All right.
hint on this.
I'll wait.
Yeah,
I'll wait on
I'm
another clue.
going to need one more hit at least.
Okay. This city / portion of this person's name also shares its name with the 1963 Best Picture winner.
Fuck off.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. 1963.
It's a very famous movie. It's not like a random movie. I mean, it's a very old movie, obviously.
I just can't think of a player with this name.
Yeah, I
I'm
have
going
one in
through
mind, but
and-
I
oh
must
my
just
gosh,
be wrong.
yeah.
All right. I'm also not seeing anything. There was a chat guess on the first clue. I haven't seen anything come in yet. I'll give them about 5 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Okay, we're moving to clue 3. This player peaked as a round 1 startup pick in the 2023 offseason. Oh, the chat has just gotten there, but they were a little too late.
It's Trevor Lawrence.
Sorry, Hallen, you were so too late. Thomas gets it for 3 points. I apologize, Hallen. Hallen was on the right track. He said Lawrence Taylor the first time, which I'm obviously not going to say close because that would have given it away immediately. But Trevor Lawrence of Arabia, Lawrence, Kansas.
Scott, one of Scott's favorite movies. The last time I talked to Scott, we talked about Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Hallen. You were all over it. Just a little too slow on the drop.
Oh my god! As soon as Jacob started to say peaked as a round 1 startup pick, that was it.
It was instantly off Tom's lips.
Something inside of Tom just triggered, being like,
my first guess was it had to be an Indianapolis Colt plus a player that Jacob loves more than anyone else.
All right. So it's been a 2-person race so far, 2-horse race, 2-camel race, if we will, with the Lawrence of Arabia theme. Ryan at 10, Tom at 8. But this last category is up to 15 points. The reason for that is I'm looking for 3 separate players.
Okay.
And you'll get 5 points per player.
Oh, man.
1 syllable. If you combine 1 syllable of each of these 3 players' names, it will make up 1 city. But I need all 3 players. So you're going to get 5 points per player. You can guess up to 3 each clue. As soon as you guess 1 wrong, I'm stopping your guess. But you might want to be careful because if you think you know 1 and you think your other teammates don't know 1, but you don't know them all, and you guess 1 and you're right, but you don't get the other ones, you might give a hint to the other 2. So you want to
we can never get 5. You get 0 points or 15 points.
No, you can get 5. Like if you guess 1 right, you will lock in 5.
This is
let's say you're Lucas and you're down by 10. If you get 1, might just then, and not the others, you might just give Ryan and Tom the clue to get the other 2.
Yep.
3 players.
Oh.
1 syllable add up to a city.
Of each of these 3 players' names will add up to 1 city.
Okay.
This is some insanity.
Okay. The city that we're looking for, that these 3 players make up, is home to a Big Ten school.
Bruh.
I'm going to be pretty generous on time for each of these clues because we're looking for 3 players, and I also want to give the chat a legitimate chance.
Bruh.
Yeah.
For the record, I made these up as we were going live. I'm that good.
Bruh. Can we retract the second date here? This is diabolical.
Big Ten school city is the first clue. So in this round, you can get up to 15 points. The next round, it would be up to 12.
This is diabolical.
Big Ten city with 3 syllables. Let's think.
I don't know. I don't know college football enough, so I gotta wait.
One clarifying question: is a part of their name a part of the syllable, or their name is the syllable?
It's a 3-syllable city, and each of the syllables is 1 exact phonetic syllable in the in each of the 3 players' names.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I'll use an example that is completely unrelated. So let's say there was a city named Sanderson. And then there'd be Shadur Sanders would have half of that. I guess he'd have 2, but whatever. And then someone with a Dur and someone with the Sun would be those clues.
This is lunacy.
Got it. Oh my goodness.
All right.
I'm gonna
Any
assume you didn't
guesses,
just-
or are we gonna wait for?
I'll
clue
wait,
number
but I'm
2?
going to assume you didn't just give away part of the answer in
Yeah,
your
we can
reply.
pass.
Correct. Okay. This
That actually
city's
eliminates.
college team has one appearance in the college football playoff, which came in 2015.
Yep. I've had a good feeling about which one it is. I
still
just
don't
can't
know the city.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know what city it is.
Oh.
Lucas, you got to get it all on this clue if you want to win, because this is your last chance to get enough points to catch Ryan.
Oh crap. Oh, I have to at least get one player. Okay.
Yes. If you get one player now and then you get 3 and 3 next clue, you could still tie Ryan. That's true. I also want to give the chat some time because I know there's a lag, so I'll give everybody a good chance here to think this through. No one's got it yet. And
What
I'm looking
other
for the 3
cities
players. The
could it
city, if
be?
you say the city, all you're going to do is give everybody else a big clue. If you don't,
Yeah.
This is insane.
Oh my gosh, I just can't think of
I also don't
players
know
to
the
do it.
like. Even if I could just list off every Big Ten team, I wouldn't like know the city that each campus is in either necessarily. Like this is really hard.
The issue is I know the campus. I just can't think of players to put with the campus. It's driving me nuts.
Lucas, do you want to team up and beat Tom? You can,
All right.
no.
Chill.
all right. I'm giving the chat like 10 more seconds. 'Cause
Okay.
they're at 0, but then I'm going to move on if we don't.
I'm going to say
Okay. I can say that the chat has figured out the school,
yeah.
but they're not. They're not getting the players.
All right, I'm going to guess Kenneth Walker.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Okay. Next clue. Of the 3 players we're looking for, 2 are national champion quarterbacks.
2015.
But they didn't necessarily.
they weren't
play-
necessarily at that school. Yeah.
Yeah. Their names just share something in common with the city. But
Oh man.
all right, Chad has got one of them, and then they've gone way over the 3. Well, I guess they have a 9 guess limit on this. They've certainly gotten one of them. So if no one gets that one this round, any guesses this round?
Oh.
Oh no, that wouldn't be it.
There's no other way I can put Jacob's favorite players, because this is all has to do. I'm not playing the game. I'm playing against Jacob.
You're like metagaming Jacob right now. Yeah.
So I think I know the school. Like I think I know the town. One's Trey Lance.
That's correct for 3 points. So Tom,
Yeah, I know what city
11.
it is. I know what city it is for sure. That confirms it.
Oh,
Number 2 is
Anyone else
Easton
want to
Stick.
That's correct. Tom goes to 14, which clinches the win because the most anyone else can get is 3. So
And then the
that can seal
third
the win.
one.
But we will get the last one for fun.
Jacob starts pulling out the college football related clues when it looks like I might win. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, it's all
there.
a conspiracy.
Peyton Manning.
No, but that would fit. All right. It's all elementary at this point. The remaining player is one of 2 fullbacks to have double-digit catches in 5 consecutive seasons.
Is it Larry Centers or something? That would be the most.
Sorry, 2 active fullbacks to have.
Thank you. Give him
double-digit
his
catches in
respect.
5 consecutive seasons.
Fullback, active. It's Kyle Juszczyk or something. It's gonna be something crazy like that.
He's
I don't
the
know.
other one.
Yeah.
And
He's
we'll
the other
guess.
one.
Tom wins either way, but feel free if you want to guess.
Patrick Ricard. I don't even
No.
No, I don't know. Who's the other
What
fullback?
other fullback is there?
All right,
fullback.
Alec Ingold is what we're looking for.
Oh, on the Dolphins, right?
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
it must be the
East
Dolphins. Yeah.
Lansing is
Yeah,
what we're looking for.
but
Okay,
shout
see,
out,
I wasn't getting Ingold in Lansing there, but that was very impressive, Thomas. Holy cow!
The chat got it like right as I said it, and they're not going to win anyway, but I'll give them the delay point.
I'm checking. I'm checking. I am checking the.
We got it with
now.
14 points for Tom, Ryan on 10, 2 for the chat, and
heartbreaker for Ryan.
For
so
Ryan choked down the middle for sure.
Absolutely.
So I'll
giant zero.
I'll say this. I will say this. I took a guess at the city, right? Because I'm not but I had a thought that Easton Stick. Once I knew who Trey was, I was like, it's got to be Easton Stick.
Person in the history of 5 for 5. I think I've used him 3 times.
Yeah, Easton Stick was the pull.
I have to retire Easton Stick
if I swung and missed on Trey Lance, I would have been toast.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
I will say I did say Kenneth Walker as a hint to Ryan about which city it was.
Whoa, I didn't know that was a hint to me. How was I supposed to pick up on that? That's like some crazy friggin'
I knew what you were doing, and I didn't know you were giving a hint. I thought you just had like a weird mental block where you thought you had to guess 3 Michigan State players, but
no, that did not register to me I'm going to say Kenneth Walker, who I know Ryan loves, and Ryan should know. Came from Michigan State.
From Michigan State, yes.
Yeah.
I was stuck on like, oh, is it like is Michigan in Ann Arbor? I was like, could it be Ann Arbor? Is like what I was thinking. So I was a little far off.
What Lucas doesn't realize is him saying Ken Walker gave me the city.
Yeah,
great.
So him taking that line,
I was just gotta be in my own mental world. I was not thinking about Ken Walker.
See, Lucas was metagaming me, but I was metagaming Jakob, and in the process, Lucas gave me the answers I needed. And look, this is not a cheatable 5 for 5. This is me reestablishing dominance and where I belong, coming through with Easton Stick. As I do. Shout out to the chat.
Alan, bro, you're a Sparty fan and you couldn't get in on that.
Shout out. I'd still look. I got the win. Shout out to my agent. I want to thank my family and my friends for supporting me after a heartbreaking loss last week. I will say the Jericho Cotchery poll deserves 0.5 wins.
Yeah,
it was.
I don't want the pity win. No, I don't want like the pity point on the board.
I'm telling you, that will go down as the greatest poll in 5 for 5 history. At least
that was
in the 2025 season. That was.
I also will admit that Tom should have been right. There was like literally no excuse for me to not use Peyton Manning as the third and instead use Alec Ingold. So my bad on that one. But, that was ridiculous. I mean,
if I would have needed the points to win, I would be arguing that to like no end. Like I'd be arguing it to death.
For whatever reason, I had decided what I was gonna do, and I was like, I'm gonna do this East Lansing amalgamation. And I was like, I just need an ing, and then. Despite being a Colts fan, the first ing I thought of was Alec Ingold because I'm that deranged.
Shout out to fullbacks.
Peyton and Eli Manning did not even enter my mind.
Look,
Alec Ingold.
The hate I get for winning in 5 for 5 is just Ryan's the only winner. We've got rigged. We've got allegations. Impossible to rigged on this show. I love this show.
One of the
Wait a minute, did you just call me a cheater last week?
I did, yeah. But last week it was cheaterable.
Okay, so you can cheat, but you can't rig it. Got it.
Yeah, how was I going to cheat on this one, Lucas? Tell me.
How was I going to cheat on the one last week?
That last week was Googleable. Come on, let's be real. It was Googleable. Even my biggest hater, the only person that talks shit to me on Twitter about 5 for 5 is giving me my comeuppance here. So shout out, guys. I'll say this every week. This show is different than anything else that's in the fantasy space. The community that we're building. We're not hating. We're just jealous. Shout out. I mean, I get it. There's not many other 36-year-old males that have no responsibilities that have the time to know this stupid shit. So shout out. I get to use it. I haven't figured out what this is for. Is as I grow my lead, it's going to get more. It's going to get better and better for me as the winner of this. I still haven't decided, but.
Well, we still have the side competition, which is that whoever is in last by week 1 has to become the 5-for-5 host, so that someone can actually try to take on Tom.
True, correct. So with that,
I didn't know this was a side competition.
Yeah,
oh
it
gosh,
is. Yeah, we mentioned
you
that a
might have
while
missed
ago.
the week that I announced this, but I'm doing this all off season. Once we hit week 1, whoever's in last, someone is taking over the 5-for-5 hosting duties, and it's whoever's in last. It
And
also
keep in
can't be
mind-
chat.
Yeah.
So it will be you or Ryan.
keep in mind, we only do 5-for-5 in the off season because we do player picks in season.
Right.
We can't have 3-hour long
it's
in
next-
season
So
pods.
it's next off season that you'll
Right.
have an entire season to prep your clues. So
Right. So with that being said, again, shout out to everyone who supports us every single week. You guys are the best. We would not be here without you guys. So
I'll tell you
shout
what,
out-
Hallen, if you want to come onto the show
I'm
every
not-
week
no,
in
no.
the off season exclusively to host 5-for-5, I would support that. That's fine by me.
We'll talk. We'll talk. That being said, merch is out. It goes a long way. Great quality, good cost. The more shirts the reason I hammer it home, the more shirts we sell, the more I can prove to Fantasy Points and the higher ups that the Dynasty Points people need their fat ass running back t-shirts and the Ryan Heath 5-for-5 crash out t-shirts. We can only do that if these forklift shirts sell. So please, all support is very much appreciated. All the subscriptions, likes, comments when the video's done going live. You guys have been awesome and killing it. Comments on the podcast feed, everywhere you can find us. We're setting, again, records every single month here with Dynasty Points in our downloads. So again, without you guys, no pod. We love doing this show every week. It what gets me out of bed in the morning. Gets me out of bed on a Saturday, knowing that I have to be here on a Tuesday for Dynasty Points for all you guys. That being said, great show. I love it here. Your champion once again in 5-for-5. Did it the right way. Did it the clean way. Did it the Ravens way, if you would. Just without the stabbings and multiple other issues the franchise has had over the years. That being said, remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose, and that your best days, well, they're always spent tilting. Good night, everybody.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.